I'm Pete Gluzak for the Bass University. I want to invite everybody to come check out bassu.tv. If you're interested in becoming a better angler, our video training library will truly help you move your fishing to the next level. Check it out, bassu.tv.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bass University TV Live. I appreciate all you guys being here with us tonight. We've got a great night in front of us. I'm real excited about our guest tonight, and I'm excited to be spending this evening with you guys. I want you guys to bring all your questions, and we're gonna connect you with one of the greatest bass anglers in the history of the world. And tonight, we've got, as always, we've got BTC and the Riz. And they are scrambling back there in the studio, scrambling, getting us up and running. How are you guys doing?
I'll let you know shortly. Hopefully good. We'll see if we're out there.
Yeah, all right. Well, I appreciate you guys being with us tonight.
And keep running.
We are, I'm real excited about it. It's a friend of mine. He's worked with us at Bass University for quite a few years, man. Going way back, and Ott DeFoe is going to be with us tonight, and Ott has qualified for many Bassmaster Classics. He's won 6 Bassmaster events. He's currently fishing over on the MLF, and a lot of you guys may know he's the favorite. He's the favorite coming into this year's Bassmaster Classic, which takes place next week on the Tennessee River, which is a place that Ott calls home. So we're going to be talking to him tonight. You guys are going to be talking to him tonight. So get your questions together. Our topics that we're going to be taking on tonight, I think, are good ones. We got the Classic coming up, so we're going to be talking tournament talk, tournament preparations, what Ott does in particular to get ready for an event, get ready for a big event. And we've seen him compete out on the MLF. We know that he wins out on the Bassmasters, and he's got the Classic coming up. Maybe how does he, prepare differently for a 5 bass limit, trying to catch the heaviest 5 bass versus trying to catch as much weight as you possibly can over on the MLF side. So tournament preparation, mental preparation, equipment prep, tournament strategy. What are the things that, an angler like Ott does to prepare for that kind of stuff? So get your questions together. All you tournament guys that are out there, I know a lot of you guys are watching Bass U TV because I see the views. A lot of you guys love the tournament strategy seminars that we have. Brian Thrift gives some great tournament strategy seminars that you want to go and check those out. That's some of our most viewed content on Bass University TV. So get your questions ready. Hey guys, if you are a Bass U TV subscriber, that's how you participate in the show. You want to take part of this show and you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, I want you guys to go over to bassu.tv and subscribe. Right now we're going to hook everybody up with a cool custom Bass University TV sun protection net gator. That's our prize that we're giving away right now for all of our new subscribers. So if you're not a subscriber, get yourself subscribed so you can participate with Ott, get your questions answered. You'll be able to talk to him about the Classic, talk to him about that waterway, whatever else we want to talk about. Really, the floor is open. We build this show for you guys, so we want to see you guys participate. So get yourself subscribed. We'll hook you up with some cool stuff, and that's what's going on. But hey, we've got a lot of other cool stuff. If you're a new subscriber, we're going to hook you up with a net gator. If you're an existing subscriber and we use your question on tonight's show, we've got all this great stuff that we're going to be giving away to all of our instant message questioners. We've got stuff from TH Marine. We've got the Tackle Titan. We've got some Storm 360 swim baits. We've got some Rapala crankbaits. We have some great custom Bass University tees that we're going to be able to give away. We have a mini Hydra wave, and our big prize tonight is a Hydra wave.
That's right.
It's a $400 item, guys.
It's a big hitter.
And we've got so much that we're going to be giving away to all you guys tonight. So that's for all our subscribers. So if you're not a subscriber, watch us on Facebook and YouTube, now's your chance. Turn this off. Go over there, get subscribed, go over to bassu.tv and subscribe, and we're going to hook you guys up, get part of this program. We think you're gonna love it.
That's right. And did you give away the code for people that just want to dip their toes in it? They don't want to subscribe tonight. There's
The water's fine.
a free trial, right?
That's right. That's right. We got a free trial. If you got that, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because we're offering a dual promotion for guys that want to dip your toe in. You're not sure if it's for you. Well, we're going to give it away for free for 10 days, and that's Bass U Live 19. Bass U Live. It's a new code we're working with now, so it's Bass U Live 19. If you want to dip your toe in, you don't quite not sure if you want to participate in the program. Go over to use the code BASSULive19, and guess what? You'll be able to participate in tonight's show as well. You'll be able to ask Ott and me and BTC and Riz all the questions you want, and you can try it out for free.
Did you talk about the Rapala discount?
No, we haven't got to that yet.
Oh my goodness gracious!
We've got a ton to get to yet.
I know. I'm so sorry.
But as a subscriber, one of the best things that we can do, and is take advantage of the Rapala discount. The Rapala VIP program is available to all our subscribers. Riz, you're new to the Rapala program.
Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing, but I'm excited to use it because they have some awesome crankbaits, and I love throwing crankbaits. So.
And it's awesome. It applies across the board. It turns out to be about a 30% discount across the board.
What?
It's huge, right?
That's like a third.
Yeah.
It's like a third. Terminator, VMC,
Great
Storm,
hooks.
Rapala, a bunch of stuff. Even if you're into ice fishing, Ice Force, you name it.
Shirts, hats,
clothing, apparel. It's all there. It's part of the VIP program. If you're a Bass U TV subscriber, you're a Rapala VIP member. All you got to do is go sign up. And that's available. That's part of what we bring to all our subscribers at Bass U TV, and lots more to come. I just want to make a special shout out to all of our subscribers that live in the Tennessee area that are going to be making that trip down to the Bassmaster Classic BTC. Do you know we're going to have a cool program called Busted?
What?
Busted. Capital B-U, Busted. Busted. If we see you wearing a Bass University logo down at the Classic, if you get busted wearing our logo, we're going to hook you up. So if you're coming to the Classic, wear your Bass U hat, wear your Bass U t-shirt. Hey, stop by and see us at the Bass University booth, because you know what? We are big time this year. We are on the main sponsor floor
big time
at the Classic this year. We're stepping up. And we're loving it. We appreciate all you guys being part of our program. So come by and see us on the show floor at the Bass U booth. And if we catch you wearing our logo, we're gonna hook you up too. So get busted at the Classic this year.
Yeah, get busted. We got a lot of people checking in with us on the message board already. So I just want to throw some shout outs out there. Brazzy, Jason, JWD, Brandon T, Brian, Professional Fish Head, Skeeter, Mike P, Eric J. Yeah. They're all hanging out with us, and there's many, many more. And, guys, everybody that's watching, we appreciate you guys, and keep the comments coming.
Shout-outs for everyone.
Shout-outs. And if you guys that are watching us on Facebook and YouTube or actually particularly on Facebook, if you persist at loafing and won't come over and subscribe to Bass U TV, we want to invite you guys. We got something for you guys, too. Like us and share us over on Facebook. And we got a cool prize pack that includes a WeGo battery pack for charging your phone, a lot of great Arashi crankbaits, and also a pack of swim baits. So like us and share us on Facebook, and we're gonna pick that winner tonight.
Yep.
For if you do that for us tonight. So like us, share us on Facebook, and then go over and subscribe so you can participate and get all these cool things too. So we got a lot going on. What do you got, Riz?
So we had a little promotion going during the week. Like and share the post on Facebook. And I just want to announce the winner for that.
That's right. We're giving away a hat.
Yeah. We're giving away one of these hats.
Awesome sauce.
So everybody who liked and shared the post, thank you. We appreciate it. It's awesome, good stuff. But our winner for the like and share contest on Facebook is Steve Hoffman. Steve Hoffman, you are the winner. I'll find you on Facebook. I'll make sure that we get your info and get you that hat. Yeah, or find us.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
You ready?
While you're finding that question, Riz, for you guys that are asking questions, we use your question on this. Your customer number is in your upper right-hand corner of your screen. You got to provide that. We use your question tonight. Give us your customer number, and that's how we'll track you down and send you all this cool stuff.
So here's a question for you, Pete. With this rough weather that has been going on, how does one adjust to these rapidly changing conditions? And that question was from Sheridan A.
Sheridan A. Great question, because it has been insane what's going on out there in the weather. Down in the southeast, down in Tennessee, I mean, they've had 20 inches of rain on the classic waters in the last 2 months. Did you know that, BTC? I mean, 20 inches of rain.
It's in Ott's backyard.
It's
literally.
It's flooding everything. Waterways that are typically clear this time of year are heavily stained. And cold, muddy water, man, it's the most difficult thing to contend with. And up here, we typically get it this time of year. I mean, we're getting rain, snow. It gets warm up into the 60s, and then last few days we've seen 20 degrees. So you can't even get your boat on the water where I live right now due to the ice. But with radically changing conditions like this, you got to figure that these fish are going to be challenging. And bottom line, when you get that cold, muddy influx in a body of water, the simplest way to adjust to that condition is to get to the clearest, stablest, which is going to be the stablest water on that body. So usually that occurs down by the dam. So get down close to the dam, find those creeks that are down there. They're often going to be more stable, less impacted, a little bit clearer, often a little bit warmer when you get that cold, muddy influx of water. So that's a great question, and I know Ott's going to be tackling that exact question, because we're going to ask him that too, because he's got to have that, that he's got to have that kind of mentality going in his classic, because I'm not sure, seeing that kind of condition is very unusual for this time of year. So even for Ott, he may be challenged by that and not be prepared, or not have ever competed in a scenario where there's been 20 inches of rain on your body of water prior to the event. But we're gonna see what he comes up with. But I talked about we're giving a Hydra wave away tonight, courtesy of our friends at TH Marine. What's the situation on our Hydra wave? Who gets the Hydra wave tonight, BTC?
I think that's me.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure I'm going to be walking out of here with it.
Other than you.
Thanks for watching, everybody. At the end of the show, we've got a trivia question.
Yeah.
A trivia question.
That may relate heavily to our content from tonight.
Mr. Ott DeFoe, I imagine.
Mr. Ott DeFoe.
Ott DeFoe.
That's right.
So, all right. So hang in there, guys. We got a trivia question towards the end, and that's what we're going to be giving that away for. And like I said, we got tons of prizes. We go charging unit. Get your IM questions together. We talked about that, and we announced our hat winner. So, have you guys been fishing?
No.
Come on.
I've been
you guys
casting.
are like king of the winter leagues around here.
I've just been casting. I just go out and work on stuff, even if I know it's not going to work. I'm skipping jigs under trees, knowing I'm not.
Boy. Yeah.
This was probably the worst year for the winter leagues in our area. Like,
due to
weather-wise, the weather was just so inconsistent and up and down. Like, almost every tournament out of the gate was a flop.
Right.
That's not true. Me and Darren won.
Won what?
We won on Rainbow with a limit of fish.
One event. What'd you have? 6 pounds?
No, we had like 10.
Did you?
That's a strong bag. That's a strong bag in the winter league.
It was a
Derby.
great season in the winter leagues. Three boats every event.
He's right. It was really, really tough overall
half the
across the
canceled.
board. Yeah.
Well,
muddy, cold water a lot.
James Riley's been busy catching them every single day, guys.
Of course.
You guys got to catch up.
Well, he had 3 jobs. Maybe he wouldn't have so much free time.
Pete, we got a question for you, and I think this is like right in your wheelhouse. Any tips for catching fish on high tide? I can catch them well on low tide, but can almost catch nothing when the water rises. And that question comes from Tidal Bass. Please send in your customer number.
Yeah, what body of water are we
Bass.
talking about?
Well,
Tidal, follow up.
There's, well, we got tides all over the country, right?
I was just curious where he's fishing.
Yep, West Coast. We got subtle tides down in Louisiana and Florida, and then we got the extreme tides up here in the Northeast. And to your point, that high tide can be the most challenging. But here's a little thing about that high tide. BTC,
Yes,
if
sir.
you can pattern fish on the high tide, you will win every tournament,
Ain't that the truth, man?
right?
If you could find something to get bit on high tide.
And it is the deal. And let me here's a little secret about the high tide. Oftentimes, I find at the high tide are when the biggest fish are available.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And it's jaw
Only the
dropping,
brutes.
Right? Here's a little, like, I fish on the Susquehanna Flats. I know you guys tune in, have heard me talk about that a lot. This is a really shallow fishery, and a lot of times at the really, really low tide, you can't get close enough to those big ones, to those big girls. They're spooky. They're your trolling motor noise, your boat noise. They're just really, really hard to get close enough to catch them. In those situations, the incoming tide and the higher tides, it allows you to get closer to those bigger fish, so you can flip them. You can catch them a multitude of different ways. But there are situations when the high tide is definitely your friend. And here's a little basic tip that I hope will help you in tides. When you get a high tide, a lot of times it benefits an angler to upsize their baits, upsize their presentation. And you think about this, like when the tide's low, fish are relatively easy to catch in most scenarios. But as the tide starts to flood, baits get lost. You may catch them on a finesse bait or a small crank or something on the lower tide scenario, but when it floods, those baits get lost. The fish can't track them that well. There's a lot of current. A lot of times there's silt in the water. When the tide switches and starts coming in, water will get off colored. So going to bigger baits, bigger presentations, a lot of times is going to help you catch a lot of those fish on the high tide. It's a great question, man. I challenge you. A lot of guys bail on the high tide. They'll fish low tide, go home. But I challenge everybody to learn how to pattern fish on their waterway at high tide, because it'll do you well in derbies.
I got a follow up on that.
He's from the James River as well, by the way.
On the gym?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimbo.
Well, I'll be there in a couple months. We'll be down there for the Open down in James.
Real quick, Pete, rate for me the Delaware, the Chesapeake, the Potomac, and the James as far as toughest and high tide. I'm just curious.
That's a great question. Toughest at high tide. I got to say the toughest at high tide by far is the Delaware River.
Okay.
By far, it's the Delaware. Second place, now, the James River. See, I split the James into two different bodies of water. You have the James River up by Richmond, and you have the rest of the James River, which is down in the Chickahominy and all those really shallow parts of the river system. It's very challenging on high tide in the Richmond area, and it's a little bit easier in the other parts, right? And then you get to the Potomac and the Chesapeake, and I put those things. They can actually fish very well on high tide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both of those bodies of water, and mainly, and I think it's a function of how much tide. Those areas get a lot less tide, 2 to 4 feet.
Yeah.
And the Delaware and the James can get a lot more tide fluctuation.
Yeah.
In those,
Do you find the fish in the James that are up near the Richmond to be a lot snootier?
Well, the water's clearer.
A lot pickier.
Yeah,
and
sometimes they can be. It depends, really.
Yeah.
Certain in the summertime when we're there.
Because I know the people are,
Man.
right?
Nah, those people are the
Know where
salt of the
Becky's
earth,
from?
man. That's
Shout out to Becky.
Shout out Becky Iconelli. But no, it's Brian, in the springtime, the James River up there in that part is really strong. Monster bags come in all spring long.
Yep.
Through the spawn. But then in the summertime when it gets hot, it does get stingy up there. And some other parts of the waterway might be a better choice. But I tell you what I see here. I took some notes here. Ott DeFoe's going to be one of the dominant forces, I think, in this year's Classic, as he should be. Wesley Strader is going to be another Tennessee boy.
He is. Yeah.
That is going to be a strong pick.
Yep.
In this year's Classic, and he's fishing really well. And this part of the country, he's so tough to beat.
Yeah.
And Wesley is he's a shallow water guy. Did you see him at the MLF? Did you see those components where he was pipe fishing? him and Adrian were switching out on Adrian Avina. We're taking turns jacking a school of fish that was wadded up behind this pipe way back up in a creek.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And Wesley, continued to make the cut. And
Which event was that?
That was Conroe, wasn't it?
Conroe.
I think
Okay.
it was.
I didn't see much of that.
I've watched so much fishing, I'm losing track of which body of water
Yeah.
I was watching. But everybody's watching a lot of fishing right now, right? We're all if you live up here, you got cabin fever. You can't keep off the Outdoor Channel or WFN or the Bass University TV. What do you got, Riz?
Just want to give a shout out to Derek. He's tuned in with us, and he wanted to say thank you to Bass You and Pete for the new forum feature. Thanks for answering and responding to his questions.
You bet, man. Thanks for noting out the forum, man. We launched the forum just a little while ago. I've been real active on there. I check it every day, guys. So if you have questions that we didn't get to here on the show, make sure you go over to the forum and ask away. I'll do the best job answering a question myself or getting it to one of our other speakers if I can to get you some answers. Great place. You want to talk about marine electronics. You want to talk about baits, tackle. You want to ask the pros. You name it. You're if you're having any trouble at all with Bass University, whatever it may be, as far as viewing the videos or trying to find something, it's a great place. We've got some great resources there. Both Riz and BTC are there. Professional Fish Head is there to help. So whatever you want to talk about, whatever your question may be, come on over and hang out with us on the forum.
Got another question came in from Adrian M. Adrian's going to be fishing a singles tournament this weekend, a day after there's a doubles tournament on a small body of water. Any tips or techniques to follow up on the pressure from the day before?
Interesting. Is that like if you're single, you can fish, or if you're married?
I think it's a buddy the day before, and it's a buddy
tournament.
A buddy tournament the day before, and he's fishing it solo the next day after it's going to be getting pressure on a small body of water, something that we're used to around here.
Yeah, I mean, fishing pressure, especially on a small body of water, really gets up there and becomes one of the most important factors that you have to account for. And that being said, no matter what happens, fishing pressure or not, that morning bite is going to be something that is natural for the fish. It drives a bite, and that's going to be available. So you want to really try to be at your best place in the morning to try to capitalize on that activity. Some of the things that, and I don't know if you're able to do this, but if I can observe where a lot of the tournament guys are fishing on the day before, that can be real helpful too, because you can recognize, hey, this area is getting a ton of fishing pressure, and this area is not. So you can concentrate on areas that really didn't get the pressure. They missed the fish, for whatever reason. So you definitely want to try to do that if you can. I mean, the other stuff is, I consider it kind of common sense approach to heavy pressure is, man, looking for opportunities with smaller baits. Bill Lowen makes a living throwing baits that are just a little bit smaller than the rest of the field so he can fish behind the top anglers in the world. And he can do it against the Bassmaster elites. He can do it against the best in the world by just slightly downsizing his baits. Not a lot, just a little bit. You can see it with his flat sides, with his little spinnerbait that he crushed them up here on the Chesapeake with. So downsize your baits a little bit. That probably is my number one tip. But thanks for that question. I appreciate it, Adrian. Yeah. And good luck in your derby. You're going to have to let us get on the forum. Let us know how you do. But I talked about Busted at the Classic, and we're going to see Wesley hopefully do real well. Did you see Roland's YouTube page?
Say what?
Roland's YouTube page? Roland Martin's rocking out with his new YouTube page.
Get out.
I'm serious, man.
He knows somebody.
Yeah. I think Scott may have given him some pointers.
Paying it back.
But it's awesome to watch him. He goes to the ones that I've seen. I haven't watched them all, but down in Florida, frog fishing, catching these big, giant Florida strain largemouth down there, and he does a little bit of instruction and teaching while he's doing it, and it's good old Roland. I mean, it's amazing the durability of that guy over
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pounder.
Son. But he's still at it. He's got his YouTube channel. From what I hear, there's going to be an MLF like Heroes tournament tournament that him and maybe Jimmy Houston, Bill Dance or something.
Oh,
I hear
is
Is that like the
rumors.
senior tour
I
in
hear
golf?
rumors about that. They're going to have like a cool event to showcase those
that
guys.
would be too cool.
Yeah. So, he's participating in that. He's fishing the Costas, the FLW Costas. I mean, the man is unstoppable. But it was a lot of fun to watch him on his YouTube channel.
We
So
got
go
Stray
check
Pat
that out.
checking in with us, by the way.
Straight back.
Stray Pat. Shout out to Stray Pat. Pat
Yeah.
Renwick is
Yeah.
going to be with us at the Bassmaster Classic. Looking forward to seeing it. You're going to see. I know you've seen Pat sitting right here with me and Mike on Bass U Live, and those of you that attended the Bass University in New Jersey saw Pat as the MC. So it's good to hear from you, Pat. Look forward to catching up with you down at the Classic. We should have a blast down in there. That is going to be next Friday, by the way, everybody. So come on down to the Classic if you can. It's going to be an amazing one. All the great anglers in the world are going to be there, and that's a big question topic that I hear all the time is this going to be the last great Classic?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know, but I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we're going to be broadcasting. And
Yup.
and for those of you that don't know, the Bass University Live show has an iTunes account. Guys, please come over if you're into the iTunes thing and plugging in, listening to these shows while you're on your way to the lake. We do have an iTunes account. We've got a number of shows up, and tonight's show will go up. And coming out of the Classic, we will have a ton of great interviews. As you brought up Roland's name, came to mind that I've got a message out to Scott Martin to come join us down at the Classic. We got a number of guys already committed. Brian Thrift and Matt Airy from Let's
Awesome.
Talk Fish. They're going to come over and
Can't
sit
wait to
down
talk
with
to
us.
those
and
guys.
We're going to ask them where they came up with that amazing name for their show.
What is the name of our show? How did we list that on iTunes? Just the Bass University?
The Bass University.
Okay.
Yep. But no, those guys have a great show, and we got, like I said, we've got a number of guys already committed to come sit with us. Shin Fukai, which has Pete all hot under the collar. A little nervous about that interview, aren't you, Pete?
Well, I love Shin. Shin's
He's an awesome
Shin's
dude.
a friend of mine. I've known him for a lot of years, and he's got a lot of great information to give, and I'm going to try my best to get it out of him.
That's right. And for those of you that tuned into our content from last year's Classic, a returning favorite, our number one clip from last year's Classic is Munenori Kajiwara from Japan Import Tackle. And boy,
Excellent.
did he bring some juice. The stuff that we don't always get to hear about coming over from Japan. So,
All you tackle junkies.
oh my, did he blew us away.
Yeah, I'm psyched. I can't wait to see what he brings us this year.
Yep. Matt McBee from Taterhog, a custom swim bait and crankbait maker, is going to come over, and Terry Scroggins, John Cox, whole bunch of guys.
Terry Scroggin's going to be talking about
Dude.
customizing crankbaits
Ooh.
with vegetable oil.
Whoa. I haven't got him to commit to giving that up. So,
Well, he's gonna do it now.
Jesus. Or he's not going to do it at all.
Yo,
Well,
big
That's
show.
what I'm going to ask him.
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
he's.
ask him.
I talked to some people. He's got a number of really cool modifications that he does.
Well, he makes his own baits. He pours his own baits. He makes worms, everything else.
Yeah, some weedless mods for chatterbait and something he does different for punching. So, it's gonna be awesome, man. We got a ton of guys on the list to come sit with us, and it's gonna be a blast.
Hey,
man.
you guys can watch that live. We're gonna be broadcasting live right from the show floor. So come hang out with us. We got a couple sofas. We got some chairs. You can sit down and ask your questions and watch the show live in action as we broadcast from the Classic floor. It's a great opportunity for us to get with all the people that are part of the Classic, because anybody that's in this industry, anybody that's ever won a turn, they're all there at the Classic. So we're going to interview them. We're going to talk to them. We're going to let you guys talk to them too. So that all is going to be happening every single day at the Bassmaster Classic. So another reason for you to come by and check us out at the booth. But very soon we're going to have Ott DeFoe come on. Are we going to take a break, Brian?
Yeah, we're gonna do one more question.
One more question? Okay.
One more question. And the question was from Josh, and it's how do you think these cold weather patterns across the country are going to affect this year's spawn?
Well, how do you think the cold weather patterns are going to affect the spawn? I'm so used to repeating questions because we don't have audio when we're out in the boat sometimes.
Yeah.
But the cold weather, you know, a lot of times, you know, to me, is a tremendous driver of the spawn. I see it over and over at different bodies of water around the country. But that cold water, it really focuses the fish. It gets them to concentrate, as I hear some audio from Bash U coming through there. But it gets them to like. Let me give you an example of this. This is the best example I can give, it's a great example because it was the world record set. Dean Rojas did it with the 5 biggest fish ever caught, and he did it in Florida. And we had a massive cold front that sat on the area for an extended period of time. It dropped the water temperature, and it was miserable down there for weeks, and it seemingly weeks, and then it let go, and we had this 80-degree consecutive day, this stable warming condition. The water temperature got in the 70s, and that stable weather just sat on the area. So that cold, nasty weather immediately followed by that warm, stable weather, it brought every single fish up on the bank to spawn. So these fish have been through this before. Believe me, they've been around for 1 billion years. They're going to be around long after we're gone, I imagine. And they're used to these cold front situations, and I don't believe it's going to impact the spawn very much. And to believe it or not, it can be actually helpful sometimes to a fishery to have a spawn that's not the best spawn of, you know, that's ever happened. Sometimes if the spawn gets knocked back a little bit, if it's a little, you know, we don't have that many small bass being produced, it really helps the previous generations and the next generations to compete, to feed. So it's not the worst thing in the world to have 1 or 2 years, 3 years where you don't have a great spawn. It really allows that bass population to flourish in some cases. So don't worry about that cold weather. I think the spawn's going to be just fine, and these fish will adjust to it. Even this high water, as soon as that water gets stable, it might delay it. It might delay it a little while, but as soon as that water stabilizes, they'll go. And it's an important point. Like if you're on a reservoir, if you're somewhere where the water is flooded right now and dropping down, those bass will wait. I've seen it a million times where the water temperature's right, we're having stable weather conditions, but the water level is fluctuating, and until that water stabilizes, those fish are going to wait. And when that happens, that's when they'll go. That's when you'll get this massive push, this massive wave of spawners. So the spawn's coming. The weather's certainly going to affect it, but it's definitely coming. So don't sweat it, guys. So are we ready to take a break now, guys? As I talk to, as I'm looking back there at Riz, are we going to take a break right now?
Sir, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's set it up. Guys, if you haven't subscribed, I want you to go over and do it. Ott DeFoe's going to come on. Use the code BASHULIVE19 if you just want to try it out for free for 10 days. You can ask Ott questions, me questions, all through the IM board. Riz will make sure your question gets answers as best we can, and we're giving away prizes for everybody's question that gets asked here on Bash University Live. And if you want to subscribe, come on over with us. We're giving away neck gaiters. Just go over to bashu.tv and subscribe right now. You don't need a code for that. If you just go ahead and subscribe with us right now, we're going to give you a free neck gaiter sun protector. And so go get that done. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back with the great Ott DeFoe.
That's right. And for you guys on Facebook, good time to come over. Remember, like and share the Facebook Live feed for a chance to win there, and come on over. I've got a little snippet of a seminar that was just hot off the presses released today. Brian Thrift on finesse swim baiting. So we're gonna tease a little sample of that.
Awesome.
Couple minutes of arguably the best angler in the world, giving away some juice on what he does with a finesse swim bait. So be back in about 3 minutes.
Awesome, guys. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
Phenomenal fishery. It took over 90 pounds to win with a lake that was 10 feet high. So it was ridiculous.
Well, when it comes to swim baits and the Jamaica rig, there's no one better. Come on, let's really give him a huge round of applause. Brian Thrift.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And like you said, I'm here to talk about finesse swim baits. And that's something that I've kind of kept under my hat for the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, and it's starting to catch on. A lot of people are doing it now, but it's just the fact of taking everybody thinks swim baits, they think big baits, you know, 5 to 12 inch swim bait, and they don't see the power of a smaller type swim bait. Like the one I have on here is actually just a little 4-inch model, but the power of that Finesse swim bait, in all actuality, this year, well, for the last 3 or 4 years, it's kind of replaced a shaky head for me in a lot of instances. This bait will get you the same amount of bites, and it'll catch big fish. So I wanted to talk about that today, just to kind of stress the importance of how you can go behind people and get bites with a Finesse swim bait just like you can with a shaky head or the Ned rig or something like that. So I hope you'll get something out of it, and I can kind of explain how I look for targets and how I fish this type bait. What I'm going to start out with is my equipment setup. This actual setup here is a 7-foot medium heavy Fitzgerald Stunner rod. And the reason I like this rod, I brung 2 rods with me today to kind of, these are the 2 setups I use anytime I'm throwing a Finesse swim bait. So, excuse me, I start out with a 7-foot medium heavy. Anytime I'm fishing offshore, fishing points, or kind of open water type scenario, I use a 7-foot rod because I'm usually making longer casts, and I want the longer length rod so I can take up more line. Because a lot of times the bite on this bait it's real subtle. Like they don't just donk it. Like you'll just be winding along real slow, and it'll just load up like you got hung on the bottom or something like that. Then you just swing on everything. So having that 7-foot medium heavy action rod, it helps you making those long casts. But also the key to this rod is you can see how soft the tip is. And one thing I always use is I rarely go over 12-pound tests on this setup. I'm using 8, 10, or 12-pound tests anytime I'm throwing a Finesse swim bait. And I've caught absolute giants on 8-pound line. I caught a 7-pounder at Rayburn last week on this exact setup. So you don't have to kind of worry about breaking your line and stuff like that if you pair it with the right rod and a good line. I use a P-line tactical fluorocarbon. The reason for that is it's pretty much the same as the blue box P-line fluorocarbon, but it's got a little bit stronger knot strength. When you get down to your smaller lines, 8, 10, and 12, the knot strength's a lot stronger on that tactical. And a lot of people always ask me, well, why don't you use a spinning rod? I've got so much more control over this bait, what it's doing with this bait cast reel than I do with a spinning reel. Just the gear ratio, the power, I feel like I can throw it farther, and I can tell what my bait's doing better, because that's one of the keys to throwing this. So my rod setup, it's a 7-foot medium heavy Fitzgerald. I've actually got 8-pound P-line tactical fluorocarbon, and the reel is one of the big keys. You want to use a reel that's capable of handling light line when you use a bait caster. I mean, when you get to the bigger size, even though it's low profile, like I use an Abu Garcia MGX, but this reel is, to me, it's designed for light line bait casting. I mean, I use 8, 10, and 12 on it all the time. It's got a great drag system, but it's got a shallower spool so you can still get distance when you're throwing a smaller bait. Like I've got this on a 1/4 ounce head, and it's just a little 4-inch. This is actually the new Demiki 4-inch armor shad paddle tail. It just came out a couple of months ago. But make sure you look at that. It's all about the reel. You can see, well, I'll pass some of these around, or y'all can come up and check them out after the seminar. But you want a reel like this MGX. It's a 8.0 gear ratio is what I use. And the whole key to fishing this swim bait on this type setup is you want to know where that bait is at all times. And it takes a long time to figure that out, what the bait's doing. So when you're talking about fishing offshore, fishing brush piles, when I'm fishing a brush pile, I want the bait to stay right above it. I don't want to get down into it and get hung. And that takes a lot of practice to figure out the fall rates, the speed that you need to retrieve it to keep the bait coming parallel instead of falling or rising when you wind it. That's one of the key things I see a lot of people mess up on when they try to fish brush and stuff is they're either winding the bait too fast and the bait's coming up on the retrieve, so They totally miss their target, miss the fish when they're fishing brush, or they wind it too slow and the bait's going down on the retrieve and they get hung up in the brush pile and don't get bit. So there's kind of a happy medium, and that's something I don't know if I can teach you. That's something you kind of gotta just experiment with it and play with the retrieve speed until you figure out, you know, what's exactly right. I mean, that's something nobody can teach you. You've just got to get out there and do that. But you'll start noticing, like, we'll start with the brush pile example like I talked about earlier. Say you're fishing a brush pile in 15 to 20 feet of water, throwing the Finesse swim bait. I know this bait's gonna...
You lied, bro.
Man, you cannot stop listening to one of the greatest anglers in the world right there, Brian Thrift. Welcome back to Bass University Live, everybody. We're going to have another one of the greatest anglers in the world, Ott DeFoe, on here in just a minute.
He just sent me a message, said, are we East Coast or West Coast time? So I guess he's ready to go.
I guess he is ready to go. Well, you let me know when he's ready. And I just want to give a shout out to a good friend of ours. We work with Tackle Warehouse, the Bass University Tackle Shop backed by Tackle Warehouse, and we lost one of ours. Corey Schmidt lost his wife Tara to battling cancer, and I just want to let him know that my thoughts and prayers are with him. All of our thoughts and prayers from the Bass University are with you, buddy. That's an incredible difficulty that you're going through right now. We are with you, and we're sending you prayers. We're sending you thoughts, and wishing you all the best, buddy. Our friend over at Tackle Warehouse. But guys, we got a lot of other stuff going on at Bass University. If you guys aren't aware of our on-water training program, I want to invite you guys to go over to thebassuniversity.com and check that out. We have on-water trainers around the country that are there to help you do on-the-water training. No matter whether it's tournament scenarios or whether it's learning how to pitch and flip and get started in this awesome sport of ours, we've got some of the greatest trainers in the world available over at thebassuniversity.com. So I want to invite you guys to go over and check that out and take advantage of some of the on-water training programs. I'm one. I work here on the Chesapeake, and I work with a lot of you guys, and I appreciate you and look forward to working with a lot of you guys this year. Do we have Ott up and ready to go?
We do.
Outstanding. I think I see him up there on the screen.
He says thumbs up.
He's a good buddy of mine. He's been with us, like I said, at the Bass University for a long time. He's put the beat down on me on Douglas Lake more than a couple times, and it's good to see him. And I'm going to be cheering him on at the Classic. The great Ott DeFoe. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Good. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. I wish I was fishing the Classic with you. I know it's going to be tricky with all that water, but it's got to be exciting getting ready for that Derby.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, you've been there and you've experienced what the Classic's about. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of mayhem that goes on Classic week leading up to it and everything. But no, it is very, very exciting for us here at the DeFoe house because, as you can see, there's Jenny.
Hey, Jenny.
Home. I mean, we're sitting here in front of the fire here on the couch at home. So that's something I've never got to do, for a Classic. Certainly not a lot of people get to, so get to have it at home for you.
Are you going to be sleeping in your own bed during this tournament?
The whole time, yep.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I'm 30 minutes from takeoff downtown. For me, so 30 minutes, that's certainly worth staying at home for, no longer of a drive than that is.
Yeah, well, you certainly, I guess you got to be feeling a lot of pressure. You got to be getting tired of talking to people like me.
Well, that's quite like you, Pete. I did 2 different TV interviews today. I actually had so many TV interviews going on that I had to send my stunt double. Skylar Hamilton went and did one for me with the Fox News station. We saw a post. Somebody shared it with us. It had him being interviewed, but they had my name on the screen. So I guess he was my stunt double for that interview. But no, but it has been busy. But tomorrow practice will start and answering the phone will end, and it'll be all about game time. That's
awesome. Well, I can appreciate what Skylar went through there because this is my own show here, his own web show, and hardly ever do I get my name correct up on the screen.
Yep, that happens.
But we got people that are dying to talk to you. All of our subscribers. I know you've been with us at Bash U. You've been all over the country with us, and they're dying to ask you some questions. And we're going to fire.
All right.
We're going to start right off and let
Let's
you
have
answer a few.
Question that we have came in from Eric J. And Eric J wants to know, Ott, how do you transition from the MLF events to the traditional events like the Classic?
Eric, thanks for the question. Great question. It is, just kind of looking back at what we've been doing. Most of our major league events have been up into the season, so it was easy to unplug. You go to one of those events, you're fishing out of their boats, all of that kind of stuff. So it was very vastly different. Where this year we have fished 2 major league fishing events. They've been in our own boats. It's not been in the dark. It's been kind of a regular prep in our own boat. But then with the major league fishing having an official, every fish counting, So I don't know yet because I've not really had to do it. I am very concerned that I may weigh a fish and then immediately release it, that I may not come in at all. Because I'm waiting for my official to tell me line's out. These are concerns that I have, but I'm going to try to do my best to remember to keep fish, to only keep 5, and to come in when.
Man, this is really confusing. I can't imagine. That's got to be. I hadn't really thought about it like that, man. You're out there fishing, you're battling along. You look at your watch. You're not due until 3 o'clock. It's 10 minutes to 3. You think you got 10 minutes left.
Right, exactly. Because that's what we do with Major League Fishing, the Bass Pro Tour, whatever. But like I said, the events we fished in the past, it was easy because we're in their boats. It's easy to unplug and plug into what we were doing there. But having had a couple events in our own boats, it's going to make that a lot easier to confuse. So hopefully there'll be enough other excitement going on around it, and I think there will be, to remember, hey, don't forget you got to be in at 3:40 or 4 o'clock, whatever check-in time's going to be.
Yeah, no kidding. That would be a bad deal if you forgot
It'd be a real
that.
bad deal.
We'll be pulling for you to get that one right.
And Jim would not be happy if I messed that up.
Alarm, all kinds of alarms.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Get your Surrey going on your iPhone and
Yes, exactly.
get everybody activated.
Yeah.
Are you going to be doing anything different? Like, I mean, are you practicing a different way, or are you going to be tackling?
You're asking Jenny. No, it'll be because what you mentioned there a minute ago with the conditions being jacked up. Really, we've had so much rain. It's been wet here for 2 or 3 months now. But it's been very abnormal conditions for this part of the country. It had been fairly warm, honestly, and a lot of rain and stuff. But it has since it's cooled off a lot here in just like the last 4 days. We've had this Arctic plunge that a lot of people have, lows in the teens, highs in the 30s. I'm sure that's knocked the water temperatures back some. And then we've got more rain actually coming in tomorrow. Going to be cold rain, but then it's supposed to be 60 on Saturday and rain more then, and then kind of get nicer throughout the week. So it's going to be a lot of adjustment between what we see tomorrow and what we see a week from tomorrow.
Well, I just, guy asked that question about what to do in this condition. And, I told him, the most common thing that I've run into is, man, you look for the most stable water, probably down by the dam, a little bit. If it's that muddy, if it's that cold, that's the most common adjustment. Is it that muddy there where you're going to have to do that kind of stuff?
It has definitely gotten a lot better in like the last 3 days, because we've actually had about 3 days of dry weather. And that's the thing about this system is that it has so much current going through it right now that it will flush out pretty quick. The lakes upstream of these lakes aren't as dirty. Cherokee, Douglas, Fontana over on the Tellico side, all those lakes are fairly clean down by the lower end where the water's coming out of them. So that water that's flowing into here really isn't terribly bad at its source. But then once you get all the feeder creeks and everything else dumping in, that's where all the color comes from. So, you get a big rain. The next day it's going to be muddied up. The next day it might be a little worse, but then it's going to start clearing pretty quick after that because that water upstream actually is clear. So with so much current flushing through the system, it's going to wash out quicker. If it was more still and not as much current flushing through, then it would sit there a little while longer, and you'd have kind of that muddy water just to stay there and deal with. But yeah, it's really, I mean, it is going to be. There'll be sections. The way I expect it to end up being, you may run through a 5-mile stretch of the lake that looks pretty good, and then the next 5-mile stretch might be really bad, nasty, and then the next 5-mile stretch might be different looking, and then tomorrow it's going to shift down. It's all going to shift down the river some. So it's you're going to have kind of a rainbow effect of watercolors, I think.
I see Riz firing it. Now, everybody that we use your question on the air, we got all kinds of cool stuff. We got some Arashi stuff. We're giving away some Rapala DT stuff.
Good.
BTC was telling me you might bring some stuff to give away tonight to the table. Is that true?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to have it shipped out and stuff. But Jenny, I'm going to use my model here now, so show them. We've got a booth set up. So if you're coming to the expo, booth 5500, we'll have Ott DeFoe hats, Ott DeFoe shirts for sale there in the booth. So be sure to come by and check out the booth, and yeah, we'll
And the Otter logo.
And we'll have this shirt and some with the Otter logo, the one that I usually have. But yeah, so be sure to come by the booth. But yeah, we'll figure us out a way to give away a shirt and a hat or something, or a couple of each, and we'll be sure to do that.
You pick the best question. You pick the best question you like while you're on with us, and we'll hook them up with your stuff.
Perfect.
How's that?
That'll work.
What do you got, Riz?
This question's from Derek. Hey, Pete or Ott, do you think the upcoming moon phase will affect the outcome of the Classic next week? The upcoming moon phase.
Moon phase question.
Okay, that's a good question. The upcoming moon phase, I don't really see how it would, because these fish aren't anywhere near spawning yet. Most of our fish in East Tennessee, most of the lakes around, our spawn typically starts around the middle of April and will last through about the middle of May is when most of our spawning takes place. I've seen some as late as early June, but most all of it is done between middle of April and middle of May. So to me, I don't really see the moon phase happening a lot outside of the spawn. I've never understood how it affects bass. I know it does in some way or another. Sometimes with what the crawfish are doing and that kind of stuff, but I've never been able to figure it out. I have to fish whether it's a full moon, a new moon, or an old moon.
With all this new water into the water system, maybe the moon will create a high tide and low tide situation.
It could. It might have more to do with that guy up there pushing the button that says more water or less water coming through the dams. But yeah, it could have it is kind of a tidal effect in some way. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. With respect to moon phase, we deal with that all the time, and I've seen the moon really drive them on the beds. But most of the time, I think it's length of day that drives them to the spawn, and the weather conditions that are overwhelmingly unstable right now. No matter what that moon's doing, even if they were thinking about spawning in that region, and like you said, we're still a ways away from that in normal conditions. So. Yeah. I would think that would probably be a minimum impact on the spawn situation or what's happening after.
We noticed on the way in all the Canadian geese are paired up.
Are they?
As we were coming across the field here, every one of them is flying off in pairs.
Is that their season? Is that what they do right now?
They're getting ready to do things. Yeah. Get in there.
Well, I know the fish, like I said, the weather will totally mess them up, but as the season comes, the length of day comes, man, the springtime action will start happening. What do you got, Riz?
I got a question from Mike P. Ott, do you think the abnormal conditions give you an advantage or a disadvantage?
That's a great
relative
question.
To the other non-local competitors.
Yeah, Mike, you're gonna be the first winner of a shirt and a hat.
Noted.
Because I think it's both. I think, and I truly feel like if I can grasp what's going on, it should work in my favor. I felt like initially I was like, man, I missed my chance of this being a normal event and the water being as it should be and conditions being as they should be. But at the same time, if I can get something figured out and get something dialed in and Pete, that's anybody who's fished a lot, once you get the beginnings of a pattern. You figure out, okay, here's what the fish are doing. These are the type of places they're set up on. The next thing you need to do is find as many places that fit that pattern as you possibly can. And that's what I expect this event to be, is a pattern. I mean, that's kind of the way this lake is. It's a pattern type of fishery. It's not a spot or a single location that's going to carry you through. So having that thought process, it's, if I can figure out that pattern quickly on any given day, then I should be able to run that pattern better than anyone else on the water because of my knowledge of the water and knowing, okay, this place right up here sets up just like this, and I can go there, and this is going to be set up that way. So in some ways, it wipes out the local advantage, these abnormal conditions of thinking, I've got this place in the bag. I know I can go there. I know I can count on that spot. I know I can count on this. I have to go figure out what's going on. But once I do figure it out, I'll be able to duplicate it, hopefully, quicker than anyone else.
Great question.
Mike Lancanelli wants to know, where will the Classic be won?
In the water.
Does he win? Does he get a prize?
Yep.
So Ott, we got another good one, I think, that came in from Brooks Parker. Which are affected more by the high muddy water, smallmouth or largemouth?
That is a good question. He's not going to win a prize, but that.
Sorry, bro.
But we can give away two.
He'll win a prize from us. That's all right. We'll hook him up.
Jenny's lobbying back there.
I'm just harsh, I guess. But Jenny would send a prize to everybody. But no, that is a great question. And I really pretty equally. I feel like, I think that they'll be pretty equally, changed by it, because the smallmouth are, I guess it would probably affect the smallmouth more, because the largemouth traditionally live in the areas of the lake that are going to already be somewhat off colored, just generally speaking. But I think that it will affect them both considerable, but probably the smallmouth a little bit more and put them out of their normal routine than what it will the largemouth, I'd have to say.
Well, I want to chime in here, because this is a Bass University secret little tidbit that I've learned, and this is a different kind of body of water. But I fish around smallmouth and largemouth fisheries a lot, and this is a little sneak on the high water. The smallmouth bite better, and the low water, the largemouth bite better. It's a little sneak. So when you're tidal water fishing and you're on multi-species, you hunt those green ones around the low tide. But when that tide floods and you lose that largemouth bite completely, you can bet that those brown fish are chomping.
I'll keep that in mind on August the 10th.
a lot, and it affects, our lakes. They're not tidal because it's affected by the moon, but it is kind of the same because of the dams and stuff. It just doesn't change necessarily twice a day. But, when that water does come up, a lot of times it's exactly like a high tide where those largemouth can kind of get away from you, where the smallmouth will go from wherever they've been, who knows, to actually where they're catchable. So it does sometimes affect them in a similar kind of way. Right. In this scenario, the largemouth, the lake's not flooded, so the largemouth can't get away from you. But it just maybe it'll put a few more smallmouth into play. Maybe it won't. They may not like it whatsoever. But yeah, it could possibly put them into play a little bit easier.
Well, I find that all the lessons that I've learned over the years don't apply to my classic tournaments. Nothing works. Nothing ever works for me.
Yeah.
But it works for you. My goodness, every classic year seems like you're in contention to win.
I've had a blessed string of finishes for sure in the classic. It's been good. It's never been great though, but I have had some really, really good finishes in the classic, and I had myself to where I was within a bite, one bite a few times to have made a different outcome, but never lost that bite. I've just been a bite that I didn't get, but yeah, I've certainly, I enjoy the classic. It is a very hectic week, but certainly a fun one.
Well, I think I might, give Jenny some credit for that, getting you prepared for the classic. and got to ask, what's your, because this is about tournament preparation. What's she got you doing? Are you doing like push-ups in the morning? Are you eating clean? Are you training 6 miles a day? What's she got you doing?
No, not much. Yeah, she's over here dying laughing. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Let's see. Eating donuts for breakfast.
Yeah, she brought me a
Donuts.
couple donuts home from the grocery store yesterday morning.
That sounds like an Ike and Ellie pattern.
Yeah.
Eating donuts.
Cooked a bunch of wings on the grill here a little bit ago. Me and Andy chowed them down. Andy Montgomery staying with us here this week. I would have him up here and have him on, but he had to run go get something for his GPS or something. But yeah, no, just make sure we eat good, especially since we're home.
Nice. Well, I mean, but seriously, what does your classic prep look like? Map study, lure preparation. I mean, what's that look like for you?
I do. It is an event. I do typically always spend more time on bait prep than the rest of the year, probably combined. I don't think it's any secret to say that people, and myself included, expect a crankbait to be a big player in this event. And I've spent a lot of time in the last few weeks. I've got some baits custom painted and, stuff that I've gotten done in the last few weeks just to be ready for this event, because I expect that to be a player, and I'd probably do that more so for this event every year than I do any of them. This one, being at home, I didn't have to go spend a lot of time, on Google Earth and that type of stuff, because I've seen the lake at, every level, every water stage, basically, other than flooded, and thankfully it's not going to be that during the event. It doesn't look like, but I did spend a couple of days down there riding around before it went off limits, and I realized then that I'd never looked at the lake with side imaging. That's how long it's been since I've really spent much time on this body of water. I spent a ton of time on it, but all of it's been even pre-side imaging, really, to speak of. So, I did spend some time down there and mark some places, but it really, most classics though, I would say the actual practice, I put very, very little stock in. Last year at Hartwell, I probably less than I ever have. I mean, we practiced, ballpark 4 days for the classic, and at 9 a.m. on day one, I had nothing in the live well, and I said, I'm going to go to a part of the lake I have never been to before. I've always wanted to go, but I've never been there. And I fired up the motor and I ran the part of the lake I'd not practiced. I mean, I had never had any experience there whatsoever, other than looking at it on Google Earth. And I drove there. That's where I fished most of the rest of the event. So the way the practice is spread out, if it's on a lake that you don't know well and the conditions change so much, I mean, you almost just have to take it a day at a time.
Man, that's bold to be able to just pack your bags and do it. Do you think at this, this is a local body, it's going to be awful hard for you to do that, because do you think history could wind up hurting you here?
It can, for sure. It absolutely can. Yeah, because I do have so much knowledge of, I've caught a fish here and I've caught fish there, and especially here, the majority of my knowledge is around this time of year. So on Fort Loudon and Tellico Lakes, on the last Saturday in March, the first Saturday in April, and then the first Saturday in May, from the time I started tournament fishing until through now, there has always been a big tournament those 3 Saturdays, last Saturday in March, first in April, last one in May. So I spent a lot of time there from the middle to the end of March, and then some time around May especially. But it was every single year we'd have those events. And so I have a lot of experience just a little bit later than what we're here. Depending on the year, a lot can change in that week or so, or 10 days, but sometimes it not a whole lot does. But yeah, so that's having all that history around this same time of year. It could help me or it could hurt me by luring me in and just saying, man, you got to go don't forget this place, don't forget that place. And before you know it, it's 1 o'clock and you're still fishing history.
Well, you've been down this road enough times. I think you'll be able to, make the right call when you need to. And it's interesting because what you said about side imaging, I did that similar to some of the bodies of water around here. And I found stuff. I'm like, oh man, I did not know that was there this whole time. Did you have that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was stuff that I had and even the mapping that's out here now is so much better than what it ever. Oh, here's Parker.
Hey,
Guest
Parker.
appearance by Parker. Say hi, buddy.
Hi.
Not buddy. Sleep good. But yeah. So I mean, the mapping is so much better than what we ever had, and even though you think you know a place, when you really look at it on some good mapping, there's stuff that jumps out at you that you never knew was there. And even what amazed me was looking at places that I had caught a lot of fish, and there was either stuff that I didn't know was there whatsoever, or where I catch them was like, why do I catch fish there? It really didn't make any sense as to why the place was so good.
Wow.
So it makes you realize that, man, there's a lot of stuff we fish by or we just run by that doesn't look like much on the map, but could be a great place.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I have a place I catch fish. I have no idea why now that I have side imaging. That's an amazing epiphany. What do you got, Riz?
Showtime 99 wants to know Ott, how you're preparing differently for the Classic as opposed to an MLF event.
Not too terribly much. I mean, at this point, as far as once I'm out on the water actually practicing, with Major League Fishing, it's all about getting bites, consistently. My goal, I don't always hit on it, but my goal in Major League Fishing is to catch a scoreable bass every 15 minutes. It doesn't, on one hand, it doesn't sound like that much, but the other hand, if you can catch one every 15 minutes, you're going to do pretty good. But in this, you just need to catch 5 for the whole day. So if you can get dialed in on the right pattern, getting big bites obviously is more important than numbers of fish. And the thing to not forget about this event is that the size limit on largemouth is 14 inch, which is a normal, respectable limit. On smallmouth, it's 18. And that's, that's a big fish. That's a minimum 3-pounder out here on this system this time of year. So they're out there, and there's big ones, but man, you just got to figure out a way to catch enough of them.
Can you catch a limit of smallmouth? I mean, is there that much 18 inchers out there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, actually the biggest bag I ever weighed in on Fort Loudon Tellico, we had 24 and a half, and we had 4 smallmouth, and the largemouth we had was a 5.5 pounder. I mean, we had a couple of smallmouth that were pushing 6 that day. So, and we actually come in second. The guys that won had 26 with 4 smallmouth and 1 largemouth. But yeah, there are. Now you're probably not going to catch 10 keepers in a day, but 5, 6. If you caught 7, you really smoked them.
Man, those are giant bags. Do you expect those bags to come in during the Classic?
Not those kind of bags, no. I mean, that was back when the lake was really, really in its prime. That was like early 2000s or so, and there was more big, there was more 5-6 pounders out there than what there seems to be, like local events and stuff anymore. The kind of weights that are caught. I think you'll probably see a 20-pound bag, maybe 2, possibly 2, but all in all, 17 and 18 is going to be really strong.
Excellent. What do you got, Riz?
We got kind of a jokester question from Mark in Nashville. If Ott had to choose between fishing Old Hickory Lake and cutting his own arm off, which would you choose?
Man, Mark, I don't hate Old Hickory. I know it's not everybody's friend, but yeah, I don't hate Old Hickory that bad. Yeah, that was I fished. The first time I ever fished there was in June in 2006 in an FLW series, and I had broken my left wrist, and I was wearing a cast, and it was a very hot June week, and my cast smelled very bad, and when they cut it off, I ended up having some scales in it. But I got a check in that event with a cast on one arm, so I've always liked Old Hickory.
Well, it's been good to you. Who was that, Mark?
Yeah, that was Mark in Nashville.
Mark, I would choose to cut my own arm off. I don't think I've ever caught a legal fish on Old Hickory the times we've been there.
If you're not, you weren't fishing shallow enough.
That's what I think. Yeah, I guess you're right. I've seen that before, like 6 inches of water.
Yeah, about like if where they can lay on their side, if they can lay on their side and still be covered by water, it's deep enough.
Yeah, I could have used this information a few years ago.
Yep.
Oh, I get it now. I think that's where I've lost him. But yeah, that lake is challenging, so I can certainly appreciate what he's going through, trying to fish it. What do you got, Riz?
Yep.
We got we're gonna go ahead and kick off the Bass U battle here. This question is gonna be for Ott and Pete. It's coming directly.
Define what the Bass U battle is.
The Bass U battle is all that, everything. We're
This
battling.
This
doing
is
stuff.
new to me too. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on.
So anyway, moving on.
Well, we're going to ask a question to Pete and to Ott.
Mhm.
It's a viewer submitted question, and we're looking
Kind of.
for. Yeah, well, this one's coming from Professional Fish
Yeah,
Head, but
straight from
after
the
that,
top.
we're taking questions from the IM board. So, guys, send in your questions. It's a technique or scenario specific question that we want to throw towards Pete and Ott, and put you guys in that situation, and let's get your answer of what you would do under those conditions or with that question.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
Yep.
And the question is as follows.
By the way, I don't think I'm like got to be the underdog in this battle.
Well-
We're,
Yeah, we'll give you two scoreable bass.
Could you
a
pick
head start.
Could you pick
Give you a
somebody
handicap.
else than Ott for
We'll
me to
we'll
have
give
to
you
go
two
against?
keepers in your bag.
Yeah.
All right, I got two keepers.
And
I'll
Ott's
take
got
them.
his left arm sawed off.
It's
All
quite
right,
a
what do we got?
handicap. All right, so the question is your top jig trailer for each season,
And begin.
and go.
It-
Pete, you're leading off. Your top jig trailer
Oh, man.
for each season.
I was hoping to critique Ott's answer.
Yeah.
Top
That
jig
was- we are.
top jig trailer for each season. I keep it simple, man. I use something with less motion in the colder water and more motion in the bigger water. In the cold seasons, I like there's two Zoom trailers. I use the big salty chunk and the what's that other one? There's that other trailer. I can't even say the name.
Fat Albert?
No,
Super chunk or
the
just
super
regular?
chunk. The super
Yep.
chunk. I got it. I use those two typically in colder water seasons, and I go over to the packet chunk, which I use an awful lot of in the warmer seasons. It's got a lot more action, a lot more. That's not always the case, but that's generally what I do. Cold season, less motion. Warm season, more motion.
It's wide open.
Yeah, Pete's pretty spot on with that. For me, the chunk I use is a Bass Pro, but it's a very similar shape to a super chunk, and that's what I use. But except I use almost all the time. I don't vary a lot from it. I'll use it in the summer. The main difference that I do from the cooler months to the warmer months is that in the cooler months I want a little bit smaller profile, so I'll thread that super chunk style chunk up on my jig, where in the summer I'm more likely to just hang it on the hook to where I have a bigger, longer profile, and then it'll kind of give it a little bit more action moving through the water. The only other time, and for some reasons, like some seasons or some years I use this a lot, and some years I use it very rarely, but a lot of times in the fall, once you get like September, October, November, I like a heavy jig, like a 5/8 or a 3/4 ounce, and I use a twin tail grub trailer. Especially fishing current, it seems like I like it's real thin. It will go through the water quickly, and that twin tail grub, it's got a faster, fast action to it, and that you're fishing warmer water still. At least in our part of the country, September, October, a little bit into November. When the water's warmer than 55 degrees or so, that I've had some great success on a twin tail grub trailer on the back of a jig.
Well, I have to say I got to award you some bonus points on your answer, unfortunately for me. Hey, tell you one little tricky thing that I do, and this is pretty cool. I put together this kind of theory that in real cold water and real hot water, fish tend to act the same or very similar. They get weird. And a lot of times I'll bring my wintertime trailers, my cold water trailers, and I'll use them in the summer, less action. And it's weird that way, but I'm trying to earn a few bonus points back by giving you that little tidbit.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and not only warm water but also pressured areas. Places I feel like in the summertime, that's why I kind of stick with that same chunk without a whole lot of action. Is 9 times out of 10, you're probably fishing around or behind somebody else who's using something like what you were using, Pete, you know, something with a whole lot of action behind it. So I tend to say with something a little bit more neutral and where it doesn't have quite as much aggressive action to it.
Shots
Right.
fired.
He was agreeing with me, man.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
We were in
But,
agreement
It's
on
not
that
how I
term.
felt.
He's the BTC's just checking in, you know.
Yep. Can't forget he's there.
All right. Question number 2 for the BU battle.
Do you want to pick a winner?
No, we're going to do this at the end.
You're gonna do it in the end?
That's right.
It's a game
We're
that
going to
nobody
tally
wins.
it all up and see who won this here battle.
All right, I'm giving Pete 20 points.
And the points don't matter.
22.5. I'm keeping my own score over
Fair
here.
enough. Butthead on the IM board, who probably wins a Ott DeFoe shirt just for the name.
Yep.
What is your number 1 rule in dirty water?
Am I going first or?
Yeah, you're up,
Okay,
Doug.
Returning champion.
Pete, my number 1 rule in dirty water, especially water's about the color of Pete's shirt, is to always fish shallower than I think is physically possible for a bass to be. I mean, and I'm talking that orange brown, you know, just super shallow water.
Even if the water's cold?
Even if the water's cold, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't matter at that point. If they have that low of visibility, they're going to be where they can see something, because they can't see anything at 5, 7, 10 feet deep, in my opinion. They're going to be nose almost out of the water. Yeah, the temperature, Jason Christie proved that to us a couple of years ago at Grand. Temperature did not matter when there's this much visibility. Those fish are going to be just right under the surface. They might be in 5 or 6 feet of water, but they're still going to be just underneath the surface, just because that's really about the only place they can see. Not that I guess I shouldn't say that there aren't fish probably in deeper water, but you're never going to catch them, so don't bother wasting your time.
That's an interesting comment, Ott, and here's why you're wrong. The first thing you're going to do is find clear water. That's the number one. That's the number one scenario in off-colored water situations. Yeah. You're gonna try to find the clearest water, especially if it's cold mud, because that clear water is going to hold a few more degrees. The fish will be a little bit more catchable. Oftentimes it can concentrate bait, and you're going to have some more stable water conditions. That's kind of like an audible, man. I don't know if my answer qualifies for this question, because it was about muddy water, but
I mean, absolutely. If there is water that is available that looks better, then yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, compared to pure, fresh, just nasty rolling mud, yeah, you want to go to somewhere where you can find just anything a little better. Yeah, you win, Pete.
All right, so we got another one coming in hot. What is your go-to bait when you're trying to get that kicker fish to upgrade your limit?
That big hitter.
Yeah, get in there.
Well, I guess, is it my turn to go first?
Yep.
All right, here's when I'm trying. Here's my answer to that question. I don't change. I often think I've done this over the years where I've tried to get the kicker fish by pulling a Carl Jacobson and getting out the giant swim bait and doing running 50 miles upriver to try to fish flip for a big one, and 90% of the time I just don't get them. So what I try to do is I try to maximize the fish that I'm catching, and in a lot of times that gives me, if I'm catching fish, I feel like I have a better chance of catching a big fish. If I can keep getting bit, that's my strategy for getting the bigger one, is to not make much of a change when I need that kicker.
The Dean.
Yeah, that you're right. You're right on the money, honestly. And what I have learned that more in Major League Fishing in the past 4 or 5 years, where before I would want to try to do something different. But the event that was a real epiphany for me was we were fishing on Lake of the Ozarks a few years ago, and I went in the very back of this little bitty creek and got back in there, and I went in there in the second period, and I caught like 4 or 5 scoreable fish on a buzz bait. And I mean, it's in the summer, but it was kind of a little shady bank stuff. Just I didn't have much time running down through there real quick with a buzz bait. Bam, bam, bam. Caught a few pound and a half, whatever fish, and it wasn't a lot of water. There was a place in the back that was 4 or 5 feet deep, and I may have pitched some kind of plastic around, a jig or whatever. but when I went back in there in the final period, I fished to the stretch again and actually went to a drop shot just with a little small hand pour worm. I mean, really picking it apart, trying to catch every single fish in there, and caught another 5 or 6 scoreable. I'd caught probably close to 10 scoreable bass out of this little bitty place. The very last fish I caught in there on a drop shot was the biggest fish of the whole day, probably the biggest fish in the whole creek. It was like a 4.5 or almost 5 pounder, and I caught it on a drop shot. So after I burned through this area with a crankbait, a buzz bait, everything under the sun, I caught the biggest fish that I caught out of there on the wimpiest technique I threw.
I mean, so many guys fall into that trap, and I've fallen into it. I know you probably have too. And you know, I read this is what we're supposed to do, man.
Did it, right?
Yeah.
We get 5, and we got to go try to get a bigger one. And and I'm more consistently, I've done better, and I've won more by not changing. It's not to say that you can't win doing that. I mean, guys will once in a while find a 4-leaf clover and
swing for the fences
and get that crazy big fish. But for me, it's proven more consistent to do it the way Ott and I are talking about it. But because Ott agreed with me, I'm going to get an extra half a point.
Yeah, Pete, I feel like you're in the lead right now.
All right, so we got another rapid fire question here, and this is one's going to be where Ott, you're going to lead off. What's your favorite Finesse presentation?
It has since become the Nico rig. Just in recent times, it was a lightweight Texas rig was for a long time. A drop shot, even in shallow water, has been very effective for me at times. But that, weighted wacky Nico rig style has really become just a major player for me in recent years. And whether that's with a slim worm, like a trick worm style worm, or a fat one, it just depends on the situation and the conditions that I'm fishing under. But that Nico rig has really been a big player. I mean that. But I look at those techniques as I feel like I take just a straight weightless wacky rig out of that, because you're not going to fish, at least I'm not, a wacky rig in water more than 5 feet deep, where all these other ones, shaky head, drop shot, Nico, you can fish those out to 30 feet. Mm-hmm. So I feel like a weightless wacky really isn't in that same group, although I catch more fish on it than probably all the rest of them.
Yep.
And well, I got to agree with that.
Really?
Yeah.
You throwing the Nico now?
The Nico, and my version of the Nico, which
is just a Senko.
I throw it. I throw a Texas rig a lot because I'm always around the junk and the garbage, right. and I Texas rig it, but I weight it. I tail weight it, and I call it my version of the Nico rig. Because it falls the same. But I can be more efficient with it in vegetation and deeper water. I can fish it in deeper water that way a lot of times, and but it is, you got. I hate this about myself is I the drop shot is I fight with it, and I don't enjoy fishing that because the weight always gets flung off. I always got to retie it. My line's always twisted. It's always hanging the other rods on the deck or in the rod locker. I just am frustrated with that drop shot. I have been since I started fishing.
I'm with you, Pete.
And
I love a drop shot, but damn, trying to throw it near a tree.
But man, I've rigged mine when I'm and I've caught a lot of fish in the last few years. Fishing a drop shot in heavy cover, lay downs and that type of stuff up shallow. But man, I fish it on a 1/8 ounce sinker and like a 2/0 VMC worm hook, and just Texas rig my bait on it. And man, that is for shallow water, especially the kind of stuff, tidal stuff that y'all fish. Man, it can be super effective. But I'll tell you the biggest trick, and what you were saying about it laying on the deck of the boat. Get a hairband, steal one from your wife, whoever. Take a hairband, wrap it around the butt of the rod as tight as you can get it, as many times as you can, and then put your sinker under that hairband, and life is good.
There you go. That'd certainly be helpful, except for when it's an exposed hook, and I am always getting hung by that drop shot hook.
So here's what you can do for that. It's what I've found is I'll take an old worm and I'll just pinch off like a 1/4 inch of it, and I'll just put it right on the tip of the hook, so that when you're taking it in and out of the rod socks or whatever, it doesn't hang on the rod socks. It just slides across that worm.
All right, sneaky little tip.
Yeah, just make sure you take it off.
Yeah.
It's like getting on the ice with your skate guards on. Yeah. You know what I mean? It doesn't work out too good.
Yeah.
You can miss some. Well, I agree with Ott. I got to give Ott bonus points on that one.
Yeah.
We're back to about even, or you still got me by a little?
I got to add it up, but I think I'm in the lead. Let's.
So we got one more question.
This will be the winner. Or
One
loser.
more question for the battle, but before we go to that, I got a question for you. Do you think that weedless drop shot up shallow on a small worm, would you call that a good way to catch fish behind guys, or if there's pressured fish? We had a question earlier in the show. There's a guy, he's fishing a tournament on the second day of a lake after a derby's going to be on it already, and he wanted to know some finesse techniques to fish behind people. Is that an application you would use that?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, especially for me, that's one that's really good in warm water when those fish are up shallow, but they're just kind of weird. That's absolutely good, but it's good any season of the year. It can certainly be good up shallow. It's just it's a little different look than what those fish see a lot. The other thing I would tell him if he's fishing an area behind people is to something that I love to do, and I know Pete does as well, is throw a crankbait up shallow, but throw a small, non-intrusive, something, it's real, doesn't have a big wide action like a lot of square bill crankbaits. A DT4 is one of my favorite baits that, man, I catch a ton of fish on, and it's just got a real tight action for a shallow running crankbait and comes through cover well. But the good thing about a crankbait, drop shot, it's about putting it in front of the fish, soaking it there. You kind of tease the fish in the biting, where the crankbait is about a reaction bite, bumping it through that cover, coming right through there. So that kind of gives you a 1-2 punch. A drop shot to fish for slower fish that you just need to sit in front of, and a crankbait to try to generate bites with.
That's a good answer.
Cool.
Is that the last one?
No, that was just a piggyback off of. I actually made a statement that brought us into that. But the last question we're going to go with is from New York Chris. What's your first bait choice for fast-moving muddy water?
That's a very good question, and I'm going to say New York Chris is going to get the other Ott DeFoe hat and shirt combo. So be sure to get your info in on that. But my first bait for fast-moving dirty water would be a bladed jig, probably a 3/8 or 1/2 ounce, black and blue most likely, maybe chartreuse and white, but that would be my very first thought on fast-moving muddy water would be a bladed jig, because I can fish it in an eddy where I expect those fish to be. I can reel it, steady and fish it that way. I can let it go to the bottom, and I can kind of pump it more like I would a jig or something, and it's going to have that vibration. Those fish will be able to find it. I can fish it from just under the surface to, 3, 4, 5 foot deep as well.
That's a great answer. So BTC, you're going to have to pick the winner of this answer.
All right, fair enough.
Because I use that's obviously a tremendous answer, but I'm going to go Jason Christie style on you.
Yeah.
And one of my go-to is a big, I guess oversized spinner bait with a Colorado or big Indiana blade.
I can't pick.
And I tell you a story about my first experience with this. Richland Chambers Reservoir, a Bassmasters tournament years ago. Same 20 inches of rain. I went pre-fishing 7 days, never got a bite. Pre-fishing, cold, muddy water. Came back after the off limits, and I spent the first 2 days of official practice without a bite. And on the afternoon of the last day of practice, on a oversized Colorado bladed spinnerbait, I generated 2 2-pound bites off of a slightly clearing pocket that I had found, and that spinnerbait moving it, because the reason why I like it, it moves slow in that cold, muddy water. You can really move slow with that bait. The next day of the first day of the tournament, I caught 20 pounds of bass. And I went 7 days without a bite, and then wound up with just a little clue, and using that big oversized spinner bait. You know, that can be just a killer on as far as a fast moving boat. It's a way to fish fast, slow, if that makes sense.
I'm going to ask for clarification on the question before points are awarded on the technicality. Was the question based on just fast moving muddy water, or was the term cold used in the question?
The term cold was not used in the question.
Okay.
So it was
current.
It was just fast moving muddy water.
Fast moving muddy water. Can I?
What, you would change your answer?
No, you know, I don't. It still applies. It still applies. I'm sticking with the big Colorado spinnerbait.
I would.
I just wanted to bust your chops on that. If cold was applied.
Dude, if this was a SAT test, I would get a 0.
I like the kitchen, by the way. I'm digging the cabinets, the range hood, changing the color from the cabinets to the range hood, the dark hood. I'm really digging that. That's what I do for a living, so I'm admiring the shot right now.
Yeah, so that's you see the island there.
I see it.
Dark cabinets, and then the matches.
Oh, wait, in the dark fireplace.
Yeah, we're here by the.
What are we doing with the
fireplace.
backsplash there? Is that glass? Glass and marble? Oh, that's beautiful.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's lovely.
What is that? What does that say over? What does that say over the fireplace? Happy birthday.
Happy Easter.
Happy
Easter. Happy Easter. Yeah. Yeah. Easter coming up soon. She took her Valentine's stuff down today and put the Easter stuff up.
Man, she don't mess around.
Good work out of you, Jenny.
Yeah,
that's right.
I,
yeah.
I still have Christmas on the cabinet to see
the
hold on, how do
garland
I
up
point
there.
to it? See up there? Oh yeah, right there. That's garland on the top of the cabinet.
It's all right. It looks good.
I have it all together.
She does blame me for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
BTC, I'm still waiting. You got to on that particular question. You got to pick.
I got a tough time choosing. I'm very kind of back and forth on things. I'm a little bit.
I think everybody's a winner.
I love both answers.
Even,
to be honest, I could see scenarios for both. Justin Kimmel, aka Professional Fish Head, weighed in, and he says, Pete, no trailer hook, no win. I don't know if it's a personal grudge, but he's awarding Ott the win because you did not mention a trailer hook in these conditions.
Oh, dude. Well, that wasn't the question. You got to just assume, man.
Yeah. You gotta have a trailer hook.
Were you using a trailer hook on your bladed jig?
I don't on a bladed jig, but I do on a spinnerbait. We got guest appearance.
Yeah.
Andy, we just got back.
There he is.
Andy making an appearance. How are you, man?
Good, you?
Man, we're doing all right. I've been watching you a lot on the MLF. You're having fun over there.
It is. It's fun, for sure.
How was that chicken?
Drop there. How long did it take you to put that together?
Put what together?
Your backdrop.
What do you mean? He's in Belize right now.
The Lord made that in 7 days, bud.
I know, man. We're lakeside right now in 20-degree weather. Doesn't it look nice here? All right. Well, all right. The only one that will make an opinion is Professional Fish Head, and he gives Ott. I'm going to give him 22 points. I'm taking 20 points. I got to add all this up. By the way, JK, it'd be a good day to Professional Fish Head to circulate your resume tomorrow morning. He might be looking for some work.
Jenny just pulled this up here. I don't get two T's. I'm just OT DeFoe.
You're OT DeFoe tonight. OT DeFoe tonight.
I'm like the OT, the new OT figure.
That's right.
Talking about that OTT. Yeah, you know
That's
me.
Right. You know.
All right. I'm adding.
Yeah, some people were very aggravated about the lack of tea there.
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool.
That's good.
Are you ready? I've tallied up the score.
Okay.
I tallied up the score. I worked off of a 20-point system, randomly assigning points.
Right.
And
Points don't matter. Nobody wins.
I have Ott DeFoe or OT DeFoe. OT DeFoe coming in at 104.5 points.
104.5K.
Which is a fairly good score. And the
Okay.
dean comes in, you ain't gonna believe this, 105.5 points. I won. I know it's a surprise to all, I'm sure.
Do you know what we call that in Tennessee?
What's that?
We call that a pencil whooping.
A pencil whooping.
You know, you whooped me with the pencil. I don't think you really did. You just beat me with the pencil. Yeah.
I may have unintentionally assigned myself an extra point or two. I'm not sure.
Not sure.
I wasn't watching.
Yeah.
But I'm sure
The message board wanted to know if Pete had enough fingers and toes to add up the score.
I see OT's name up there a lot.
The message board said that Ott was the champion, but
hey. Math does not lie.
Yeah.
There it is. Read it. There's the math.
We didn't wait, baby.
There it is. Winner, chicken dinner. I don't think I'm going to earn $300,000 for my win tonight, though. Is that what the classic purse is? Is it 200, 300? What are we fishing for?
300. Yep, 300,000.
300 G's. All right.
Yep.
Well, I want to talk about one thing real quick, and I want to congratulate you on this. Man, that's a great show you got. I watched your show for the first time, honestly, this weekend, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. Watching, I think you were down in Texas,
Yeah.
and you were throwing an Alabama rig, and man, you caught some giants. But the production of the show, of all the shows I watched, I had more fun watching that show.
I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, it is a lot of work, and I hope that shows in the in the final production of it. But it is shot a lot different, and it took me a while to grasp what we were trying to do when we started shooting those. This is the second season that's airing right now, and to get an understanding, because I was meat and potatoes, catch a bass, hold it up, talk about it, let it go, and move on to the next fish was. That's the way most bass fishing filming has always been, but it's definitely a different level of production, but it really does show. And I mean, Trevor Gowdy's an excellent producer, and it really is I always tell them I'm amazed when a show comes out and, they send me a final cut version of it and how they get what they make out of what I give them. It always blows me away because they make stuff that they take lemons and make lemonade out of it. I feel like they do. They're amazing videographers that we've got. Matt Russell and Derek Sprague are a couple of the guys that are on most all the shoots. They're excellent guys and really, really good behind the camera. And then Trevor Gowdy, his production crew of editors and stuff that put the shows together are just amazing. So no, it's a group I'm honored to be a part of.
Man, and it's a great show. I enjoyed it. That's got to be more pressure than anything else. I mean, what if you don't catch a big fish?
Right.
I mean, that's the hardest thing to do.
Absolutely, and it happens. There's some episodes where, just a kind of a mediocre sized fish is the best thing we end up with, and that's the reality of it. Every time you go out fishing, it's not going to be a 7, 8, 9 pounder that you catch. So that's. You gotta take what you get, and sometimes you fish 3 or 4 days and you don't catch a big one. It's very how easy that is to do, but that's the cool part of it is we try to go to places where we put the odds in our favor as far as where we're going to go fish. That there's at least big fish there, and trying to go at a good time of year to be productive in catching those, and then fishing in a way where I catch many fish all day long. I only catch 3 or 4 or 5, but if we can catch one big one in a day, that's all I got to do. So that's the neat part of it.
Yeah, I guess that is the good part of it. And do you have any cool places? Where'd you? I mean, you went to Texas. What other places can we look forward to seeing you fish?
Yeah, Texas was actually one of my favorite shoots. Most of that was shot on Lake Whitney. Did hit a couple other stops down there, Ray Hubbard and a small lake. I think it was called Fairfield. But Whitney, that was the first time I'd ever been there. Alton Jones Jr. fishes it a lot and had told me about it and how good it was and stuff. That was probably my favorite trip of the year. Obviously, by the size and number of fish that I caught there, it wouldn't be for anybody. But we filmed on Chickamauga, which we also filmed on last year, and it was neat to go there the exact same week as I did the year before, and then really compare notes as to how different it was from one year to the next, conditions and that kind of stuff, and the fish caught. But it'd be one or two great shows out of there. But I actually just got back last week from down at Gros Savon in Louisiana, and you want to talk about a fun place to fish, man. That is just an incredible place to go. And then we filmed 5 days, probably averaged a 6 or 7 hour day of fishing per day, and I caught for sure over 250 bass in those 5 days I was down there. So it was a lot of fun. But yeah, that was some great places that are still yet to be seen on the show.
Awesome. Well, I'll be watching, and man, we'll all be watching at the Classic, and we'll be pulling for you.
Thank you.
You know, down there. I wish you the best, and man, we'd love to see you bring home the big trophy.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm certainly gonna do everything I can, and it'll be in God's hands, and we'll see how it goes.
Hey, Ike requested that we keep you on here for another couple hours, if that's cool.
I can set the iPad down and point it at the fire, and it'll be good to go. You can watch the logs burn. That's fine by me.
Is Ike trying to wear him down? Is that gamemanship? He's trying to tire him out?
Tell him to have fun. If you're listening, have fun out there. It's going to be a high of like 45, pouring the rain. Enjoy your day tomorrow. I'll be sitting there by this fire for part of it. So. Wow. If it gets cold, just come on up here and you warm up. So.
Yep. Eating donuts.
That's right. That's right.
Jenny, I suggest the gluten-free diet moving forward.
Do what? Sorry,
He suggests a gluten-free diet. I could use it. I'm getting a little more around the edges, but
please, yeah. I mean, we're all going to be rooting for you, man. Good luck down there. I wish you the best. I'm going to let you go enjoy that fire and family, and I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us, man.
You bet. Thanks for having me on. I sure appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks, Pete.
Good luck, brother. We'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed putting the beat down on Ott.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Really laid it to him.
I think I actually I gave myself 5 extra bonus points on the second question. I can't remember which question that was.
I think that's the one you actually did good on.
No,
you did good on all of it. Yeah, it was fun. The message board may have disagreed with you, but
hey. You know, it's all exposure. You can't outdo the exposure. The fans are fans, and they're going to pick Ott no matter what I do.
That's right.
What are you going to do? But thanks for some of the guys pulling for me. But that was a lot of fun. Great information. We're going to take a little break.
Yeah, we're going to give us 1 second to pull something up. So yeah, go ahead. We're going to take a little break.
We're going to take a little break. Want to once again invite you guys. If you haven't done it yet, come on over and join us. You can see Ott. You can see Brian Thrift, the greatest anglers in the world, teaching about what they're really good at. It's all waiting for you over there on Bass U TV. Help you become a better angler. Take some of this mystery out of it, Brian.
That's right.
You know, get you out on the water with confidence, no matter the condition. That's what we do at Bass University TV. So come on over and join us, because when we come back, we're opening up the I Am board. We're going to be talking to you guys. We're going to be giving away prizes. We got a trivia question. We're going to be giving away a $400 Hydra Wave, giving away all this, the Tackle Titan T-shirts, Rapala lures, all kinds of cool stuff. Facebook, like us and share us, get you in a contest to win this cool pack too with a WeGo and a lot of other great Storm products. So we're going to be taking a quick break. We'll be right back talking to you guys on the I Am board. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
So let's give him a huge round of applause as Ott goes ahead and talks about jigging with Ott DeFoe.
Thank you, Bill. I can't get enough of that. Do you want to do that again, Bill? You'll do it? No.
Let's go jig.
No, but hopefully y'all will stay awake during this one. I know we all had lunch, and y'all were wide open this morning, but probably have you got your bellies full now and feel more like nap 30. But no, we'll try to keep you awake this time. But no, this seminar, when I was talking with Justin, who works with Bass U, actually him and his wife just had their baby yesterday. He's usually at most of these, but when we were going through, different topics and stuff, he was the one who brought up me doing one on jigs, because, everybody's got a different take. If you ask a bass fisherman, especially professional, say, man, if you could have one lure to fish all year, all across the country, what would it be? And probably at 90% of us, or maybe even closer to 100, would say, well, if you had to give me one, I would take a jig. You know, I could make it different colors. I can do different things with it, but a jig is really one of the most versatile baits. This last year on the Elite Series, I think I weighed fish on a jig in every tournament except St. Clair. And I think I even weighed a fish or two in on my lax on a jig. I may not have. The tournament was actually one on a jig. Apparently I should have. But I mean, I think I weighed fish in every single Elite Series tournament except those couple. In St. Clair, I mean, it was smallmouth and offshore, and you could have caught fish on a jig, but it wasn't what I was doing there. But that truly is, and I think that speaks volumes as to just how versatile a jig is. I caught a lot of fish swimming a white jig throughout the year. Last year, we fished a lot of different places and times when there was a shad spawn going on, and that was a good thing to do. I caught them in Okeechobee, flipping a jig some there, and that swimming a white jig there as well, and caught them on like a punch skirt rig, which is basically a jig. But so, yeah, you really can't say it enough just how versatile a jig is, and that it works from when we started the year at Cherokee and 45-degree water. I caught a couple fish there that I weighed in on the 3rd and 4th days up the river flipping, and you know, I caught them all throughout the year. So it really is one of the most effective and most versatile tools in your box. And it's a few reasons as to why. I mean, it can imitate everything a bass eats. Anything a bass eats in the water, you can match a jig to look like it. From the obvious ones of crawfish, that's when you see a jig, especially a brown jig, you automatically think crawfish, and that is one of the best imitators of crawfish out there. To a white jig, you know, that you fish and it looks like bait fish, to one that's got some green pumpkin and blue and looks more like a bluegill for a swim jig, and then a black and blue that I still don't know what it looks like, but they sure do bite it. So it really doesn't matter, I guess. And again, you can fish it from the top to the bottom. You can swim a jig right under the surface, all the way to, you know, of course, a football jig dragged out in 40 foot of water, you know, and open water or heavy cover. That's whether it's just around boat docks that have hardly anything in the water, throwing a swim jig down bare banks, and of course in the heavy cover that we all like to flip them in and stuff at times. So it'll work in all that. All right, Bill, hit another one. As far as different jig styles, I really broke it down there by the 5 that I could really think of. As far as, you know, you could go to Bass Pro or anywhere and look up different jigs and find all different kinds. You know, this one's made for this and that one's made for that and whatever. So the one that I use most of the time, and this one is really a combination. This is a Terminator Pros jig. And this is designed as their flipping jig, but this is also the jig that I swim most of the time. It's also the jig that I cast. A lot of companies have a jig that is designed just for flipping, just for heavy cover flipping. And it may have a beefier hook than this and a beefier weed guard, but the head is a little bit more rounded shape, you know, something that's got just a different shape to it. Where this one, it's just really a good all-around shape. So for me, like I said earlier, that KISS principle, that's one that I try to do all my fishing by that keep it simple, stupid. So for me, having one jig that I can do for multiple things, that's a win-win for me. That's less stuff I got to carry in the boat. Just carry this jig in a few sizes, and then the colors I like, and that's a big plus. But for a finesse jig, to me, that's always going to be something that's a little bit more specific. You definitely want a lighter wire hook, less weed guard, and that's something that you never fish a real heavy one in. I mean, a 1/2 ounce is a really heavy finesse jig. I know Jamie's talked a lot about finesse jigs earlier, but for me, a 1/2 ounce is a really heavy finesse jig. Most of that's done with like a 5/16, you know, 3/8, somewhere in that kind of range, even a 1/4 ounce, which is what this is. And a smaller skirt, you know, a real scaled down kind of skirt, thinner skirt. And then a football jig, which is, you know, a lot the same size as what your flipping jig is as far as just the overall profile of it. But it's got that big head kind of shaped like a football. And, you know, something that you use a full skirt, big trailer most of the time. I like something that's a big profile on that. but it's, you know, got a big hook in it too. So that's certainly a bigger profile jig. But yeah, for me, those three and Terminator, casting, flipping, and swimming, I pretty much all do with that jig right there. We're actually working on a swimming jig that's got an inline line tie, where that pros jig has a crossways line tie. But we're working on a swim jig now that's going to be a really good one. It's got a lot better hook. The current model we've got, it's okay for open water and light line, but it's not a heavy cover swim jig. All right.
All right, Pete.
For different trailer
back,
types, let's see here. We've got
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bass University Live. It's awesome to have Ott DeFoe on. Thanks everybody for your awesome IM questions. And it was a lot of fun with our brand new challenge game that we played. Guys watching us on Facebook, even if you're watching us, you know, wherever you're watching us, this is your last chance. In 10 minutes, we're going to be giving away this cool prize. So go over to Facebook, like us, share us over on Facebook, our live feed. We're going to be giving away a WeGo battery pack, or phone charger rather. We got 360 GT swim bait by Storm, an Arashi square bill. We've got a couple other Arashi baits, a spy bait, a spin bait, and of course the cover pop, which is one of the best. I'm going to show that to you because I love that one. Is amazing topwater bait that we're going to be all using here real quick up in this part of the country once the water gets warm. But
doesn't feel like it.
That it's going to get.
Doesn't feel like it's going to be quick.
You blink your eyes, and the trees will be blooming.
Oh, I got so much work in front of me. I can't even
Right.
imagine fishing right now. But
March seems to drag on forever in our part of the country, and it's just trying, and all of a sudden the daffodils start coming up, and
the crocuses croak.
Yes, we're gonna be out on the water.
Yep.
So yes, coming forward, we got the like and share on Facebook. We're going to announce that at the end of the show, Pete. Right?
Yes, sir.
We are going to give away that Hydra Wave Mini to a new subscriber from tonight. Someone that comes over and subscribes
During the show, and we've got a lot of you guys, and I just want to welcome you to the Bass University family. You subscribe during this show. We're going to be entering you. We're going to randomly pick one of you guys, and one of you guys is going to win this awesome Hydra Wave Mini. So that's going to become. We're going to be announcing that. We'll be announcing that, I guess, on social tomorrow, or
yes,
we'll get through to you via email. We'll find you, but one of our new subscribers is going to win this prize. So,
right.
So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. We'll put you in the contest. And we've got a couple trivia questions coming up. We've got a couple of them. We've got a lot of cool prizes. We got the Tackle Titan from Tackle Warehouse. Manage your tackle systems magnetically. We've got great Bass University tees. This is great. This is some of our classic logos that says "Never Stop Learning" on the back. So this is one of the first T-shirts that we gave away with the Bass University. We've got some great long sleeve Bass University tees in our classic orange color. So we're going to be giving away these, guys.
We need one to mop up some beverage that Riz just spilled.
Did it hit the keyboard?
No, none of that.
Good work.
Nothing.
Work. And
the beverage did not spill, for the record.
This is the biggie, right?
There
400
it is,
Hydra.
man.
We're going to be giving that away in just a little while. So, guys, IM board is wide open. We're talking about tournament preparation tonight. Could be, if you're not a tournament guy, talk about fishing preparation, how you get ready for a new body of water, and what you do. That's what we're going to be talking about over this next segment, and we're going to be giving away prizes for every single IM question.
That's right. As soon as Rich comes back, we're going to lean heavy on that IM board. I want to. You got something?
I was going to say, you're getting ready for a derby. You got one coming up in the beginning of April.
I do.
Have you started preparing?
No. No, but I dream about it. It's what I ease my mind with when I go to sleep at night.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, that is one of the biggest parts of my preparation. You say it jokingly, dream about it.
No, not jokingly.
But the visualization of the potential patterns that are going to take place, what the water's going to look like, the baits you're going to potentially be
might
dealing
be the
with.
best part.
It
you know what I mean?
It is.
Because it's all still possible.
Right.
The reality isn't always as great as the possibilities, but the night before, I love it.
I was listening to the Funk talk about wrestling, and how the importance of visualization. I'm into collegiate wrestling, and he's one of the all-time best now MMA fighter. But visualizing.
Askren?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he talks about the importance of that, like what he did there, mentally going through the moves, body positions, and had spent time thinking about that.
Yeah.
And I found that in all my sports and things that I was interested in, I think about things, but with fishing, I could never turn it off.
Right.
I think about it all. I would think about this stuff all the time, and it helped me solve the problem, come up with creative ideas on tools and baits, and think about, like, all right, what if things go wrong on tomorrow?
Yep.
What are my outs? What are my strategies? But that thought process, and it happens before you go to bed. It happens while you're zoning out at school or work. That thought process, thinking about an event that you're about to compete in, is a huge part of this thing. And I think when you find something you really love, you can't stop it. It creeps into your mind when when your mind's busy with work, busy with school, but then when your mind goes, it doesn't have anything to occupy it, boom.
Yeah.
That is the thing that comes into your mind.
Yep.
And I think that's I think that's a very, very important part of being successful in this sport of fishing or whatever you're doing. But that's an important part of my tournament prep. But Riz, I see you're back. You got the IM board lit up back there?
Oh yeah, it's on fire.
Crack-a-lackin'.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
It's snapping. Mike P chimed in. He said, Pete, how many rods do you keep out on the front deck of your boat during a typical tournament? He struggles to keep it simple on his front deck.
Man, I'd struggle to keep it simple too. And the Andy Morgan is an example of someone that amazes me because I have no idea how he does it. Is he does not keep any rods on the deck of his boat. You believe that?
No.
He takes a rod out, fishes with it. When he wants to switch rods, he puts his rod back in his rod locker.
That cannot possibly work.
And takes a new rod out.
Oh, it works for him. For him, it works.
He's the GOAT. Certainly over on FLW, he's just the greatest. Top 10, win.
He really does that?
Fishes one rod at a time. What? So I suspect he sees a psychiatrist on a daily basis to deal with whatever OCD that causes him to be that way.
Oh, my word.
I don't know how to do that. But I tell you,
I would like to have somebody standing behind me just to hand them the rods so they can hand me like a caddy just standing
there. That would be awesome. That would be really awesome. But I do tend to, one of my biggest problems with rod clutter is this is serious. And Ott's going to be facing it down there in Tennessee, multi-species lakes, smallmouth and largemouth in the same body of water, because man, you got a set of tools that you use for smallmouth, and you got to have them, and they're different from the ones you're going to be targeting largemouth with most of the time. Mm-hmm. So you got to have two complete sets of rods available all the time. So I get cluttered as hell.
Do you find tidal fishing to do that similar thing to you? Because when the tide changes a tremendous amount during the day, you're not going out with 2 crankbaits tied on. You got 4 crankbaits tied on, or to cover the high tide and then the low tide that comes later in the day. And
well, see, that's a good question, but I honestly I keep less rods on my boat when I'm tidal water fishing than I do just about anywhere else.
That's only because you got it dialed.
It's probably because I got it dialed,
right.
and it's to me it's so simplistic, man. Tidal water fishing is like the ABCs of fishing. Yeah. It's like spinnerbait, crankbait, jig, worm, and I have those out. There's like 6 rods I have out all the time.
That means you're dialed.
And that's the ones that I use. But you're right. A lot of times when you're not dialed, that's when it gets the worst, right?
Yeah.
You've got your drop shot out too. You've got the Nico rig. You've got a topwater bait, and you're still scrambling to try to figure it out. But I do try to. Mike is the opposite. Ike and Ellie. I mean, is as clean as Andy keeps his fish. He's anti-Morgan, man. He's like the Morgan kryptonite. He's got 20 rods on each side, and he does something. The most amazing feat in fishing is he'll have 10 rods stacked on both sides, and he'll reach into the middle of that 10 rods and grab a rod, and it'll come out.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it.
You're right.
He'll give it a little shake or quiver, and boom, it comes out.
Yeah.
anybody that's ever tried to accomplish this, you realize that when you do that on a normal person does that, they grab that rod and the drop shot weight's wrapped around the spinnerbait rod and the tip's wrapped around something else, and you left the lure hanging on the end and it's hung into your partner's jacket, and it takes you 20 minutes to get that rod out. Somehow Mike makes that work. I don't know how he does it, but to answer your question, I do try to minimize. I try to keep the minimum number of rods that I need to use out on the deck, and I use a lot of rod sleeves in my rod locker.
Do you?
Yeah, I've started using them. It's an extra step, which I'm not a fan of extra steps because it diminishes your efficiency when you're fishing. But the rod sleeve adds to efficiency because I can grab the rod I want out of my rod locker, pull that sleeve off, and I'm up and running. So yeah, I try to minimize, but it's a challenge every time. What do you got, Riz?
Gotcha. I got another one for you. This one comes from Bruins77. Bruins77, baby. Bruins77 wants to know where he should start to become a better tournament fisherman. He can't seem to climb past the middle of the pack, and he wants to know how he can get over that hump.
Man, that's a great question. Bruins77, I suspect you're a hockey fan. Fighting in fishing does not work that well, but if you try that technique, it might help you jump ahead of the field a little bit. But I'm joking, obviously. But that's a big deal. I struggled. Everybody struggles to get over that hump, and the best. It's a hard thing for me to say, but when I tried to force a win, when I tried to force it, it never seemed to work out my way. Like we were talking about getting 5 and running for a big fish, hardly ever worked. I learned the hard way many, many times that I had to stick with the school of fish I was working. That gave me the best chance to win. I do something that I call let it come to me. And that has helped me win. Let the pressure off a little bit and listen to the fish. Let the tournament come to you. When you start doing the right thing, you got to learn to recognize it. You got to learn to recognize when you're on a winning pattern, and you got to relax and you got to let it come to you. You got to fish those areas. I know it may sound a little cryptic, but it's a big deal. Now, obviously, you've got to be, you got to go through all the fundamentals, right? You got to be as confident in throwing a finesse bait as you do a spinnerbait and a crankbait. I'm assuming you got all that in hand, right? But once you get to that level where you feel confident with all those tools, it's about, finding the developing pattern, which I really didn't discuss till just then, but you want to try to establish where the fish are going to. If it's a warming trend, you want to figure out where the spawning flats are that they're coming to and intersect them when they're first there. If they're leaving the spawning flats, you want to be the one that finds the first post-spawn location that they're living at, because every moment that goes by in the tournament, more and more fish are coming your way. So you want to focus always on the developing pattern, and you want to let it come to you. Try not to force it. Try not to go for that, swinging for the bleachers mentality. That to me is, most oftentimes you're going to miss when you swing for the bleachers. So I often go for those doubles and triples, man, getting those base hits, and sooner or later you're going to get a shot at that big fish. I hope that helps. There's a lot to that, and I want to recommend that you go check out. We've got some great tournament strategies by Davey Height, by Brian Thrift, and more are coming on Bass University TV. Go check those seminars out. They're going to help you get into the mind of a tournament winner on how he practices and fishes for tournament wins. So great question, Bruin77, and good luck. Good luck. I hope you have that breakthrough this year. What do you got, Riz?
All right, we're going to start into a little bit of a a rapid fire round.
Rapid fire.
We're stacked up deep like cordwood.
Yeah. Bring it.
The first question to you, Pete, is going to come from none other than the Wawa Hoagie lady, and that question is: at what point do you put the Senko away?
That's a dirty question.
That is, man.
That's a trick question, Pete.
That's a trick question.
Actually,
I don't have to answer that question, but the easy answer is you never put it away. Keep that out. Keep that out, Wawa Hoagie lady.
No, but seriously,
you got to tell me you're Wawa. I got to stop by there. That's like my favorite place.
Yeah, I know. How about a temperature, man?
I thought about that instantly when she asked that question because I thought until I figured out she was busting my chops because I love to throw the Senko, but the water temperature, I thought of that right away. Like in cold water, it's not the best, but I'm finding that I'm able to catch them deep into the cold, into the low 50s, into the 40s. I'm still having some success in the real cold stuff. Once you get down into that like mid 40 range, it gets different.
Yeah,
and
I wouldn't throw it 44 or lower.
Yeah, it gets different, and it's going to require some things like suspending jerkbaits, lipless baits, silver buddy style baits when the water gets real cold. But other than that, even when they stack up in the wintering holes in the Delaware, you can still catch them on a Senko when they're stacked. And so man, hardly ever put that down. Good question.
Next question. How many rods do you think a tournament angler really needs?
Not as many as we have, but a fair amount. Depends on, I go out into Ike and Ellie's garage and he's got like 10,000. I don't think you need that much. I think he obviously thinks he needs that much, but I think you can use a lot of rods multi-purpose. I use my Carolina rig rod. Sometimes I can use it for a spinner bait. I can use it for a light jig. So I can use multiple techniques with certain rods. I like to have duplicates of them because that way I don't have to retie that often. But if you can be extremely competitive out in tournament fishing with somewhere between 6 to 10 rods. I think that's the minimum that you're going to have to get to be able to handle some of these things, because you need a crankbait rod that's special. You need a topwater rod. They're unique creatures. If you're flipping heavy cover, you're going to need a big flipping stick. So there are certain rods you got to have, but there are some in between multi-purpose rods you can use for a lot of different things. So if I had to give it an exact number for tournament success, 10 rods.
Okay, Pete from Bass Ranger, what is your favorite lipless crankbait?
Favorite lipless crankbait is a rip and wrap. It's a heavy crankbait from Rapala. It's a great tool to fish deep. It can yo-yo. I can keep it tight to the bottom. It's a great tool for that. But man, everybody's got one, and it's interesting to see, the effectiveness of some of them have wider wobble, some of them have run shallower. BTC showed me a suspending lipless bait that I don't even know if is made anymore, but an old Cordell spot that suspends. So there's so many different sounds, different vibrations out there, but that's my favorite.
Yeah, by the way, I just scored these off of a private dealer on Facebook, a buddy. And these are old Cordell spots, and they are suspending. Got any experience with the suspending spot?
The suspending spot I do right here, right a couple miles from the house, Elmer Lake.
Okay.
Elmer Lake, because I was in the pre-spawn, and
it's 4 feet deep in the deep
in
spot.
the deepest spot.
Yeah,
so when you're trying to fish that 6 inches to a foot and a half, that bait was amazing and smoked them down there for me when I used to fish that lake. So that's a killer little deal. By the way, those 10 rods have to be casting rods for you tournament anglers.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
We got a question from Casey. Casey, any advice for a co-angler?
Throw a Senko.
Except unless you're fishing with me, you're going to want to throw something different.
Right.
Different than what I'm throwing.
Throw 48.
It's hard to beat. You want the deal with being a co-angler. A lot of co-anglers they come in the boat and they see me catch a fish or two fish, and they do what I do. The most successful co-anglers that I've ever had in my boat don't get sucked into that. They continue to do what they're doing, finesse fishing if I'm power fishing, or fishing if I'm finesse fishing up on the bank. They'll throw Carolina rigs or topwaters at deep. They'll do something radically different. So unless you're sitting on a pod of fish that they're all around the boat, everybody can catch them, then you can do the same thing your angler's doing. But I recommend, best advice to win the tournament, it's most often doing something a little bit different.
Yeah, I want to double back on something real quick. Sorry for your rapid fire. You talked about tail weight in the Senko a lot, right? the Senko is brutal for holding on to a nail weight. How many nail weights do you fire out of that thing?
I don't. The VMC nail weight is the one I use. It's an 1/8 ounce, and I cut it in half.
Right.
It's got big flanges.
Okay.
And it's hard to get in,
Right.
you know, because the flanges are so big, and you know, you gotta mash it in there.
Yeah.
But the other one that I like to use is the Half Moon
Yeah.
head, also VMC deal. But the cool thing about the Half Moon is it allows me to use crazy glue.
Yeah.
And I put it into almost all the way shut,
Yep.
and then I take that brush applicator and I go around the Half Moon and then push it all the way in.
Okay.
Never flies out.
Yeah.
Never flies out. The only problem with tail weight is flinging off the bait. That's
Yeah.
the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And I use crazy glue there too, especially if I'm practicing. Like in a tournament, I will never do this, but if I'm trying to conserve, you know, I'll crazy glue the nose of the bait to the hook, like where you bring it up on the elbow of a worm hook.
Yeah.
I'll put a little crazy glue there. It locks the worm in place, so when you catch a 1-pounder, he doesn't fling the bait,
Yeah.
and you can keep using it.
I did a fair amount of tail weighting this past year at a local quarry because it's deep.
Yep.
Man, did it make a difference. Huge difference. And I did a lot of it with the 48. Actually, all of it with a Missile Baits 48.
Awesome
And
bait.
Smoking the dudes in the boat with me that had a Senko. So I'm just saying, anytime you're ready, Pete.
I would love to lose to the 48. That's a great
Well,
weapon.
invite me fishing. Why you scared, homie?
Yeah, I just saw. Didn't we see JC just use the 48 in one of the elites or something? I saw
on St.
somebody.
John's.
Somebody dominated in one of the tournaments. It may have been the one that I fished, the Open, down at the Harris chain. One of the guys
Well, he was
there.
throwing it at the St. John's too.
Who was?
John Cruz.
John Cruz was.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, I saw that 48 getting a lot of love in those Florida
Flipping
tournaments.
flipping it on the big weight.
Yep.
On the flippity flip.
Yeah.
There you go.
All
What
right.
you got,
This
Riz?
is going to be the last rapid, kind of not so rapid fire question. What is the lowest water temp that you will throw a topwater?
You know, it's interesting. You know, I typically, you know, if it's a warming, you know, mid 50s range, low 50s, I throw it if it's warming. You know, once I get down into the low 50s, I put it down. But I've seen guys like Watson talk about throwing topwaters, and like if you can be the first guy on the buzzbait pattern when it's warming in the spring, you'll win the tournament. If you can be the first guy to catch them when they're coming out of that warming 40-degree, you know, low 50s, the first guy to throw topwater, you'll win that event. So I don't really have a threshold. I guess I do, but below 50 degrees, when I'm in the 40s, I don't typically throw it. But 50 degrees, it can be the deal. Can win the deal. We've seen them win buzzbaits in the snow.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, old school Bassmasters tournaments.
So, do we want to move into our rapid fire? That was 5.
That's 5. Hey, everybody whose question we use, by the way, we're going to be giving you something cool from Bass University. So make sure you give us your customer number, which is in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Send that to us. We will hook you up with some cool gear. And we appreciate you guys being part of the program. A lot more coming at Bass University. And also, if we didn't get to your question tonight, we tried. We're sorry. Go over to the forum. Our forum's live. You can find that at the top of our website, top-hand right corner of bassu.tv. Click on forum, and you've got a lot of great categories there. You can talk to me there, ask questions to the pros, and ask all of our crew here at Bass University, and just hang out with us and talk fishing. We got a couple trivia questions coming up. We're going to hit those.
Well, we're going to save that big one till the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have one for a shirt though. We can do that one now. And the trivia question is, who was the winner of the last Bassmaster Classic on the Tennessee River and what year?
You know, what lake was it on? Was it on this lake system or was it on a different part of the Tennessee River?
It's on the Tennessee River. Pete, that's what I know.
Riz, we will award you no T-shirt. I think it might have been on Chickamauga.
Oh boy.
What year?
Don't
say it. Don't say it.
6. I don't know.
Pete, you get to keep the shirt on your back.
Yeah, I suspect that might. I don't remember a classic on Kentucky Lake. I don't remember Tellico Loudon, although that could have been. I think there's a classic or two on Chickamauga, but I can't remember. But great question. We'll be looking for your answer there. I'll be fishing Lake Chickamauga. By the way, Ott DeFoe, if you're still listening, we have a winner. I will exchange my win on our little contest for a few waypoints on Chickamauga. So let me know. Ott DeFoe.
OT DeFoe.
What do you got? We got a winner?
Yeah, Dave.
Brosnick?
Charlie, I don't know if it's Brosnick or not, but
No, it ain't.
Dave. No, he's not watching. Dave, and the answer was Charlie Reed in 1986.
And on the Tennessee
River. No, Loudon.
It was on Loudon.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Charlie Murphy.
Wow. All right. Congratulations, Charlie
Hope so.
Reed.
By the way, guys, we didn't mention the 3 previous Bass U seminars that we've released. We give a quick sneak peek into what was just released out
Yeah,
there.
we just showed one of them. Today we released Brian Thrift, Finesse swimbait fishing.
Yeah.
And, man, you want to check that out. The Finesse swimbait is a dominant weapon for a lot of guys' arsenals. And Brian, of course, he talks about and shows how he uses it. Has been a master with it. And Paul Mueller just won on a Finesse swimbait, which we also have Paul Mueller talking about his Finesse swimbait tactics. And he just won the Elite down on Lake Lanier using that exact weapon as well. And different, like real deep, super deep. And but check out Brian's. We just released that today. I want to invite you guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, you want to do it because Jordan Lee is going to be talking about swim jigs and vibrating jigs. Jordan has won the last 2 Bassmaster Classics. He's the reigning classic champ. He's going to be going for 3 in a row down here in Knoxville. And he tackles swim jigs versus vibrating jigs, when to throw which and why. And that is a great seminar that I think you guys really need to pay attention to. We saw Jordan Lee use the vibrating jig to win the MLF this year down in Florida. So that is going to be released. It's a special release, BTC, on Monday. Do you know why we're releasing it on Monday? I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
We're releasing it on Monday. We typically release all our seminars our classroom seminars on Thursday, but because of the Bassmaster Classic, we're going to be releasing Jordan Lee's early in the week on Monday. So you definitely want to go check that out. And we've got a lot of great stuff coming up. Here's some other recent here's some recent releases that you guys definitely want to check out. Carl Jacobson did some stuff. We get more questions about sonar. Carl works with Humminbird, as do we. He did a couple seminars about how he uses his side imaging, his 360, his down imaging to identify patterns and fish, how he did it down at the Harris Chain of Lakes this year at the Open. We had him live. Some of you guys may have seen that. You can go check that out on bashu.tv as well. But we've had some amazing sonar instruction from him. One of the most amazing things that he did, and you got to see this, BTC, is he picks a largemouth bass out of the grass with his down scan. Awesome.
Really?
Right on the screen live. Look at that bass. He points it out. Like I'm sitting right next to him while he's doing it, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, wait a minute, wait, show me that. And he shows me the grass, shows me the fish, blows it up, like zooms in so you can see that, and boom, there's the fish. And my hair got blown back. I'm
Really?
like, whoa,
Wow.
wait a minute. We're taking this to another level right now. And so that was super, super cool. It's on Bass U TV. Got to go check that out. Jared Littner using lipless crankbaits. We talked about that in the spring. Jared Littner just smoked him on the MLF. Thought he was going to win it. I thought he was going to win it. Using different style hooks on, the front hook versus the back hook. It talks about his strategy there. And he's used this Jackal lipless bait to tremendous success over the years, and you want to check that out. And we recently also released Edwin Evers' his approach to jig fishing. We saw him win the Bassmaster Classic out there on out in Oklahoma on Grand Lake, and he uses Andy's custom jigs, and he gives, I mean, he's talking about jig fishing, so you want to definitely check out Edwin Evers. He's one of the greatest champions. That's all he does is win major tournaments. So and he almost pulled off or did he pull off the MLF?
He did win one.
He did win the recent MLF, didn't he?
Yeah.
Edwin, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Sorry, Edwin. That happened, and I was watching Boyd Duck. You know what is? I got pulled away from the TV on that Sunday, and I did not get to watch the finals live, which is why I didn't get to see that live. But I do remember him dominating that.
Caught an 8-pounder on a drop shot. In the last
That's
20
right.
Minutes
Yeah, I remember that.
seal
Seeing
the
his
deal.
highlights.
Slam the door.
One of the things that I took
All
away
he does
from
is win.
one of the things I took away from Edwin's segment on his seminar was when he's flipping a jig, there's times where he's using 12-pound fluorocarbon when he's flipping a jig, and to me that just it seems crazy because it's light. But I mean, do you have any experience with that, Pete? If you go to lighter line on a jig for presentation purposes, casting purposes, whatever, how do you adjust? Do you adjust your rod, your hook set? What's going on there?
Man, 12-pound test, depending on the habitat that I'm fishing it, is key. And I don't know, it depends. On a football head, when you need to get that bait down, you're making long casts, you're fishing deep water. Yeah, I could the need to go lighter, and you have to go lighter.
He said he was using it on a ball head jig in the classic that he won. When he was flipping bushes.
Well, yeah, and
up in that shallow water, up in that river,
in that gin clear water,
right?
Gin clear
way
water,
up in the
which is, I mean, it just seems scary, but
way scary. It's way scary, and in that scenario,
do you feel like you're more accurate with lighter line? Because sometimes I'll go out in like my backyard and I'll stand on my picnic table and flip and try and land a jig on a bucket or something. And there's times where I go out with 20, sometimes I go out with 14. And I will say that thinner diameter line, I feel like I have a little bit more thumb control. Do you feel the same?
Absolutely. The heavier line is harder to manage in the cast.
Right.
It backlashes more. It's more wiry. The big benefit to it is once you get hooked up,
right?
Now you're forced to be reckoned with. No matter what the habitat, you have a good chance of landing that fish.
So do you adjust? Do you adjust your hook set or?
With 12 to go down?
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, it depends on the habitat too, right? There's certain habitat that you just can't get away with 12, right? Because if it's sharp, if it's rocks, if it's zebras, right. I mean, it's just gonna poof. It's gonna slice, and you have to, obviously, Edwin's the champ, right? He's using that light line. Why? Because he feels he can get bites.
Get more bites.
He's going to get more bites because he knows other guys fish through that area.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, everybody gets so hung up on wanting the heaviest line they can possibly get away with. Blah blah blah. Yeah, man. But and it's scary. But does it matter if you don't get the bite?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if you don't get the bite.
You got to balance that. You got to weigh that balance, right? It's like if I want to catch him on 20. Right, because I know that I'm going to have the best chance of landing the fish. But if I, especially in that area, if you're fishing around the fish, you bump into the cover and you see all these fish you didn't get the bite, you got to look to your line as a possible reason for that and go a little bit lighter. So the question is, I'm scared to throw 12-pound test, but I probably wouldn't have caught those fish Edwin did either, and that was a huge deal. How he landed 30 pounds of bass on 12-pound test,
Piece of cake.
He's the champ.
One at a time.
Yeah, he's the champ, man. Heavy wood, rock, all that crap that he was fishing around. That was pretty amazing. But all that stuff is available on Bass U TV. That's all the latest releases. Like I said, upcoming. We got the champ. We got Jordan Lee is going to be launched this Monday, and you guys definitely want to check that out. We're going to be live on the water. We're going to be doing a lot of filming down at the Classic. We want to invite you guys to join us. We're going to be doing a lot of filming all around the country this year with Bass University. So let us know what you guys want to see, what lakes you'd like us to see, what pros, what patterns you'd like us to explore, because we're going to be looking at some of the best lakes in the country this year, and we're doing this for you guys at Bass University TV. We're going to bring all you guys with us. So, What we want to give away some more prizes?
Yeah, we're gonna give away the mini Hydra Wave.
Okay.
And
Let's give away some prizes, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
The mini Hydra Wave, and this was a prize for the Facebook like and share of tonight's live feed. And
The mini Wego.
Yeah.
And the lure kit.
No.
Oh
yeah.
Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All that. Yeah. Mini. Sorry, Facebook share. You're not getting the mini Hydra Wave, but you're getting something awesome. You're going to get
awesome.
a Wego 5200.
Yep.
You're going to get 3 Storm Arashis and some swim baits. It's a good prize.
That's right.
And the winner of that is Derek Sadlowski. Congratulations, Derek
Sadlowski. Hey, thanks for doing that. Hope you come over. Hope you're one of our subscribers, Derek. But if you're not, hopefully you will be one day. But we're going to be sending you all this cool stuff from Wego and from Storm. Now let's give away the mini Hydra Wave. No, we're not. We're going to give this. We're going to give this away to new subscriber during the show. We're going to announce that on social media. We're getting all mixed up. We're giving away so much stuff.
Yes.
We can't keep track of it.
It's like Christmas.
It's like Christmas. This is a $400 item. We're giving it. We got
nice
another
item.
cool question about the classic. Relates to our guest that we had tonight, Ott DeFoe. And the question is, and you got to be specific, guys. What body of water does Ott DeFoe live on the banks of? And if you were, and you know the answer to this question, if you watched BTL with Mark Jeffries, good friend of ours, executive producer of the show on Bass Talk Live, Ott actually took the video and showed the banks of the waterway that he lives on.
Yeah.
So you want to, if you watch that show, you know the answer, maybe, if
First
you remembered
let's
it.
Go.
But you got to be specific, guys. Got to be specific. Well, that was a great show. I really, Mark's really been stepping it up. You can watch Bass Talk Live three days a week.
Yeah.
Now.
Very good.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike was on yesterday. Yeah.
How was that show? Did you get?
I heard about half of it.
Did you?
On my ride home. Listen to it.
That's cool. What were they talking about?
Oh, Mike was just talking about, where his head's at and, just
cool.
Getting ready for the classic and some other things.
Awesome sauce.
By the way, turns out Derek Sadlowski is a subscriber.
Oh, that's awesome.
My man.
Awesome. I'm going to throw in an extra pack of 360s.
There it is.
As you're my man. We got any? Are people guessing?
Yeah, people are guessing. We're getting a lot of broad strokes.
Yeah.
But we need it to be specific. We need to know which. You
can't Google
what
this.
The deal is.
You can't Google this, boys.
The dealio.
I don't think you can Google
You
it
have
anyway.
to be a BTL.
And guys, remember, if you wanted to be a part, or if you want to be a part of this chance to win a Hydra Wave, and you're watching on Facebook, come on over. Yeah, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Come on over. Get with us. We have a winner.
Winner.
Theoretically, Dan, you are the winner.
Theoretically, Dan.
Awesome.
Is that Dan Kenny? Might be.
What is the answer?
Go ahead, Brian. Tell the people at home.
The Holston
River.
The Holston River.
I believe, and as Ott explained it, right? And so I'm going right off of Ott's explanation. That merges with the broad French River to form the Tennessee River, and he lives on that arm, the Holston arm. So hey, theoretical Dan.
That's it.
Congratulations, man. $400. BTC's pissed he can't take this home tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna notice if it was a mini instead.
I think you might notice. I think you might notice. So we got one more gift. We're going to be giving that away via social on email. We'll notify you. We'll get a hold of you for all new subscribers. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed, now's the time, because we'll timestamp it. I'll make sure they timestamp it even after the show's off the air tonight to get you into that contest to win the mini Hydra Wave. But I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the great Ott DeFoe, the 6-time Bassmaster champ, going for his first Bassmaster Classic championship. I want to wish him all the best, and I know you guys are with him too. And I want to give a shout out to a lot of people. I want to give a shout out to my partner in crime, Mike Iaconelli, wishing you the best down at the Classic.
That's right.
That's your 19th Classic, and it's time for number 2, brother. I hope you get it. And shout out to Mark Jeffries for BTL Bass Zone. You want to check him out. I know Mark's going to get us all set up to broadcast down at the Classic. We appreciate you, brother, and thank you. And I want to thank the BTC and the Riz.
That's right.
for all you guys. Yeah, I know we
Miss
had
Rebecca sitting out in the corner.
Miss Rebecca sitting out in the corner. Thank
saying,
you.
you guys, your night's over.
She's kicking us out of the studio.
Get out of my house.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm proud of you guys. I know we tried to had some technical difficulties, and you guys got it all worked out, got us up and running, and we're going to be back real soon. We're going to be back at the Classic next week. That's where you'll see us. So come back. We're going to be giving away lots of stuff, having lots of fun, talking to some great anglers and great people in this awesome sport. So be with us Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Bassmaster Classic. We'll be live then too. We got any other housekeeping? Hey, yes, we do.
Thanks to Ott and Jenny.
Thanks to Ott and Jenny. Big time thanks, Jenny.
Yes, thank you very much.
Gluten-free. Keep on it.
For Ott.
For Ott. You got to get that boy in shape. But I also, hey, you guys that are trying to watch us at work, we are on iTunes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Put on the headset. Your boss won't know it, except for JK. I will know. And but check it out. We are on iTunes, the Bass University. Go check it out. We're there now, so you can listen to all these live shows. At your leisure, whenever you want, when you're driving to the water or wherever you're at, you can check us out. So I want to thank everybody, all of our subscribers, for being part of our program. All the new guys, welcome to the family. Everybody watching us, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys in a week and a day at the Bassmaster Classic. Have a good night, everybody.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.